everyone, welcome to another edition of the Final Down NFL podcast with me, Jim, Finn, Denver Dave, and Punk Radio. We're here to talk about the NFL draft. Boys, how are we doing this morning?
I'm not sure.
I'm ill.
I think I might need more coffee. It's very early.
It's been the joys of working with old people. Everything aches. Everything's horrible.
I'm the second youngest here. What are you talking about?
Anyway, guys, we're here to do our mock draft, our round one mock draft with trades. So it's going to be a long one, probably split up into a couple of episodes, we're thinking. So got to be aware this is going to be a bit of a slog, but hopefully fun at the same time. Before we do that, just a couple of bits of NFL news. So a big contract that came through this week was that Jalen Hurts has re-signed, as everyone expected, with the Philadelphia Eagles. A massive contract extension, $250 million for another few years. Totally deserved.
Yeah, totally deserves after one good season. Yeah, absolutely.
Mega money. Quarterback, isn't it?
Yeah,
$250 million.
All you got to do is have one decent year and you get a big deal. It's great.
Absolutely.
Unless you're Lamar Jackson, in which case.
Sure, Lamar Jackson.
No mas.
Yeah. Not mass for you. Yeah, so that happened. Anything else you want to say on that trade before we the extension before we move on?
I think the main thing about his the extension that we need to look at is the fact that everyone expected the deal for Deshaun Watson to reset the market and everyone to get $250 million or fully guaranteed. Since then, we've had a couple of big QBs sign. Russell Wilson for one, and Jalen Hurts now. And what we've seen is the actual overall contract value still ranges about 250, but the actual guaranteed amount seems to be spread over more than 3 years, which was the historical sort of vantage point that everyone sort of went to. But it's no one's looking, or reportedly some people are still looking, but in terms of the contracts that have been handed out, we're not seeing 250 million fully guaranteed. So for every deal that continues to go forward, it's making the Browns deal for Deshaun Watson look worse and worse and worse.
As it should.
It's a good deal for Philadelphia, good deal for contract Hurts, Jalen Hurts. I don't know how that came out.
His contract is not hurt.
No, absolutely. No. But the thing is, a lot of people think it's a 5-year deal or whatever it will be. It's not a 5-year deal. It's a 3-year deal, and it'll get renegotiated after 3 years. So no one needs to really get too excited about year 4, year 5, because that will be renegotiated fairly swiftly.
There's our contract Hurts, man.
Could be worse. You could be giving that to Russell Wilson as a
contract guy.
I love a contract, you know that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. I want to do this mock draft. We've been talking about it for a long time, and the way that we do ours is that Punk is usually the GM, and then Dave and I pitch players. Finn is also going to be assisting Punk this time with the choosing. So yet again, it'll be up to me and Dave to pitch a player.
Assisting.
For all the admin stuff that's going on, all the clerical assistance that's going on there. So Dave and I will pitch a player, and then it's up to those two to decide who's actually going to that team. We're going to try and be as accurate as possible in terms of who we think will go there. Maybe more than people we think should go there, I guess. So, Punk, we're going to start with the Carolina Panthers with the first overall pick. Obviously, they moved up with the Bears, who are down to 9. And what are we looking for? Should I ask?
With the first pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers are on the clock. Mr. Coach Stallwood, what is it that our Panthers require this year?
I think it'd be one of the quicker ones. I don't see any objections to needing a new QB.
No, they've definitely moved up to sign a safety.
Now's the year. For
this is it.
This is safety year.
Okay. So quarterback.
Yes. Let's go quarterback, chap, shall we?
Yeah.
I don't think we should take too long on this. The obvious pick for what's happening at the moment is Bryce Young, the quarterback from Alabama. 5'2", 160 pounds.
5'10".
No.
Giant of a man.
Yeah, no, he's normal size. He's 5'9", 5'10".
That's not normal
Normal
size, Jim.
size.
For a human.
21st century,
For a
normal
human.
size for a human is at least 5'11".
Just
That's not true.
5'9's about perfect, I think.
Listen,
Perfect.
Listen, Punk, me and you are both over 6 foot, so normal to us feels over 6 foot, but that is
That's very
anything
true.
more is
That
just
is
egregious.
abnormal.
It's not necessary.
I'm way over 6 foot, so yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
6
but
foot's a long way down.
I think we have to all agree he is the most talented quarterback in the draft right now.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to say too much more about him, but
I was
he's
going to
the most
say,
talented.
do we have another option out there? Scouts,
That's on Dave.
No. I'm picking Bryce Young. I was fully expecting you to come in with an alternate option, and I'm going to be honest. I was ready for an argument. I'm a little bit disappointed.
Sorry.
If Bryce Young was 4 inches taller, he'd be the best QB prospect since Andrew Luck. The test,
Crazy.
the cognitive testing that they do before the draft. CJ Stroud didn't score that well. Didn't score badly, just didn't score well. Whereas Bryce Young was off the chart. And he's had meetings with everyone who's looking for a quarterback. And they would have sat down and spoke to him, broken down film with him, and they would have been impressed as anything else. So I think Bryce Young is the consensus number 1 overall pick. I've gone for a somewhat analytical approach as well this year. So I've looked at 20 different mock draft providers and basically come up with averages. And this isn't how, because I disagree with some of those enormously. You would not believe how much I do. But at the moment, there are like 4 different, out of the 20, there's 4 different providers or analytical teams who basically aren't picking in first overall, and they are not the most well known. I think his average score comes up at like 1.3 in terms of picking. So yeah, absolutely, it's a no-brainer. Bryce Young. In terms of our recommendation to you, you can still go and pick who you want.
I mean,
recommending one player to you. Would you like to take the one player that we've recommended?
Yes.
Yeah, but anything can happen in the draft, man.
That's
Panthers
true.
might trade back down.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
knows? Yeah, all right. Let's go Bryce Young to the Panthers, pick 1.
Okay.
Well done,
Okay.
Mr. Young.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome
I'm
aboard.
just locking that in. So we're on to pick 2,
On the clock,
which is the Houston Texans. Now, this is interesting because the rumors are that if they don't have Bryce Young available, they don't want any other quarterback. So what are you doing?
So positions of need, Coach Stallwood, what do we need as the Houston Texans?
I think I've isolated 3 areas. I'm going to go start third and then end with what I think we ultimately desperately need. I think we could use some reinforcements in the wide receiver range. I think we could have a few more options to throw to. I think we could shore up the defense as well with bringing in an edge rusher and someone that can be nice and disruptive. But I think ultimately, like Carolina, we really need to strengthen in the QB position.
So,
go on.
Scouts, what are we doing here?
I think it's an
Texans,
absolute no-brainer. Forget about what you hear on the grapevine. I think CJ Stroud is and has been the best pick all off season for Texas. The only thing, his accuracy and the way he controls the pocket, and in key moments in key games like the game against Georgia, he was phenomenal. The only real downer on him is the fact that so many of his passing schemes, so many of them were predetermined. It was, you're going to do this, and he knew that before going into the huddle. The NFL, who obviously don't do that. I think it's the sensible pick, and if we're not going to see the Texans pick up a quarterback here, then I don't think they're going best player on the board, and I think they'll try and move out. I don't think they'll have too many takers, so I think everyone else has done their due diligence on other quarterbacks. So I think it's the straightforward move to do.
Yeah, CJ Stroud's the interesting one because everyone mentions the game against Georgia because it's the one great game he had.
It's several great games, but that was he had several really good games, but that was the great game that he had.
Because it was against a good defense.
Yes.
Ohio State, we mentioned in the last pod between me and Dave, Ohio State was basically playing on easy mode for a quarterback. I didn't even mention Marvin Harrison Jr. as another one of his targets. It's just been so easy for CJ, and the stuff that's coming out now about the tests and things. Forget that. I don't really care about that. But he's a very kind of laid back character, and there's a difference, I think, between being laid back and being focused. And I'm a little bit worried about CJ Stroud, that he's just a bit too laid back. It's been a bit too easy. He's had all this time in the pocket. He's had great wide receivers to throw at. When he gets into a much different situation, it might even be a kind of a Zach Wilson type thing, where you've picked someone that other people say is great.
You talk about all the time in the pocket. His actual average pass time was less than Bryce Young's. So
well, yeah, because Bryce Young was running for his life because he didn't have the wide receiver group that CJ Stroud had.
Get out of it. He was playing for Alabama. You still got.
Yeah, they don't have great wide receivers anymore.
He has a great line. Doesn't need great wide receivers when he's got all the time in the world to throw. I genuinely don't think that's an issue. The issue is the fact that, as you say, a lot of it was predetermined, and they're not playing against great teams. The Ohio State line was perfectly good, and his ability to be able to pick out who he wanted to. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. Yes, he's on easy street, but he still tests better than everyone else.
Of the 15 Ohio State Buckeye quarterbacks that have been drafted since 1970, only one of them has a winning record. Two of them have a winning record. One winning record is 3-2. So Mike Tomczak at 42-31 is the only Ohio State quarterback that's ever done anything with a winning record.
How many Michigan quarterbacks apart from Tom Brady have done any good?
I'm not talking about Michigan quarterback either.
Let's not draft Tom Brady then. Come on, give me a break.
And this is the glory of our draft pod, in that you just let these two off the leash.
Just let them go at it, and then we just come in with a nice little.
North Dakota State's greatest ever hit.
Giving them facts. That's
was Carson Wentz, but instead
of giving us facts, could you give us an alternative?
All right. The alternative to CJ Stroud for me would be Anthony Richardson, because he is the freak of the draft. He is the upside, a guy that I saw improve through his season at Florida with a terrible team around him. I think if you're going to take someone that you don't even know Texas whether they're really pushing, but I think they could afford to sit him for a few weeks, get him bedded in, and then try with him, because he has got that shoot to the moon upside, which I know you guys like.
You talk about CJ Stroud's game against Georgia. Let's talk about Anthony Richardson's game against Georgia. 14 of 35, only 143 passing yards and 2 interceptions. I'm sorry, that is not good. In fact, those were his stats against Kentucky, against Will Levis. Just saying. Against Georgia, he was not good as well. Against Hendon Hooker's Tennessee, completed 24 of 44, having to rely on 17 rushing attempts with his feet. Against LSU, scored only 185 yards. His actual completion percentage last year was 53.8%.
They've already readjusted.
Compare that to the NFL. The only starting QB that was lower was Zach Wilson, and he's basically a one-year starter. He's a sophomore because he only made 38 completions the year before that. I mean, he made 38 completions the year before that. That was probably on 326 attempts. Let's be honest. He is essentially at the moment
at any point and
a one-season wonder. I like Richardson a lot.
I'm just enjoying these little one-liners that
you cannot take him over CJ Stroud at the moment.
Well, unless you want to think about the future.
Okay, so the options here are the two quarterbacks. One appears to be a little bit more, should we say, conventional quarterback.
Yes.
The other appears to be a little bit more of a freak of nature quarterback. Finn, I think the Texans need to play this quite safe, to be honest. I think so. I think we should lean towards Stroud. I think it's a better base for us to build on, considering where we've been the last few years. I think the fans would probably love Richardson for 6 months, but if he's not playing great after 6 months, then he's probably going to be a problem, and we're probably going to end up back at square one. So consensus pick, I think, would be CJ Stroud to the Texans.
It's a very safe choice, potentially.
Absolutely.
I think it might be very dangerous.
Texans don't do wild and wonderful things. Come on. They are a safe franchise.
True.
Yes, I agree. And I think also off the back of that, I don't think Anthony Richardson to the Texans is the right thing for him as well, because I think what he needs is probably someone who, I mean, he needs an offensive head coach, and DeMarco Ryans is not an offensive head coach. He needs someone who can come in and who's played the position, and knows how to be patient and when the right time to put him in is, because I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check what their depth chart was. Do they still have Davis Mills as the number one?
Yes.
Yes.
Jesus. Yeah, Case Keenum
Davis
and EJ
Mills-
Perry.
Davis
what I
Mills
mean.
Davis Mills didn't have a brilliant year last year, but not many people in the Texans jerseys did.
No.
But he's also not a bum. He's not
No,
terrible. I just don't think he's a game winner.
he'll throw you for
When you're
interceptions.
picking two, and you've got the chance of a franchise quarterback, you're going to try and take it.
Gotta take it.
I'm not sure I
Gotta
believe
play
all the
safe.
hype about, we're definitely not looking at a quarterback, snigger. It's
I think they'd be silly not to.
a quarterback. Right, moving on.
Pick three.
So, 3. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock, but what's that? Is that the sound of a trade buzzer?
Oh,
The jingle. It's the
here
trade
we
jingle.
go. Now we're talking.
So here comes
Who
the
has
interesting one. Who has moved? Who's jumping up to get their quarterback of the future? It's the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh,
You have
boo.
Third most draft capital
Wow.
in the draft. So
Trade
yes,
for that.
the Las Vegas Raiders are going to jump up to 3 and are going to be looking to pick up their quarterback for the future. So, gents, who are you pitching for the Raiders?
Is it me?
I think it's me, isn't it? I think it's me first.
I think
Go
it
on,
is
Jim.
Jim first this
So
time.
the quarterback
then
from
Jim's just gonna
Kentucky, Will Levis, is available. Getting overtures from the Colts. We think he might be their pick. And we know what the Raiders like to do is, annoy other teams. So they might want to sneak in there at 3 and take the big-armed, blue-eyed, blonde-haired quarterback from Kentucky. He's got an absolute cannon for an arm, stands in the pocket, maybe too long, takes the hit, but delivers the ball, whether you like it or not. And I think that Will Levis might well be the third quarterback off the board.
This is the biggest troll ever.
What?
This is Jim. Hang on, I'm sorry.
Will Levis truther.
Jim just pitched Anthony Richardson to go second overall.
Mm.
Now a team has traded up to pick a quarterback, and you've foregone the guy who should have gone second because you basically want to troll and give Will Levis. Get out of here! Come on, Anthony Richardson, pipe down.
Don't give him Anthony Richardson.
His Tinder bio.
Don't give him Anthony Richardson.
You know as well as I do, the Raiders will ruin him. He will not have a career. He'll be out the league in a year and a half. Anthony Richardson.
We've got a great reputation with quarterbacks. Come on.
Anthony Richardson will be the next pick, and the Raiders will sprint Josh Jacobs up to go and take the pick up. Absolutely 100%. Done.
Oh, all right.
Finn, anything you wish to add?
My concern was Jim seems to be more in love with the man rather than a player, and that was the vibe I was getting from Jim. So I didn't feel we got a true representation.
Oh, damn it! I thought I'd really kind of
He started going on about his blonde locks, his blue eyes.
I mean,
you'll find this quite often with Jim that there's always one quarterback in every draft that he just ends up crushing on. And it's nothing to do with the quarterback play. It is all to do with the looks and I think some suppressed feelings that Jim may have from a previous lifetime. But
this feels like an intervention now.
Yeah. Okay, so
if you won't take the troll job, then go for Anthony Richardson. Fine.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Seen through my ruse.
With the third pick in the final down NFL draft, the Las Vegas Raiders will select Anthony Richardson, quarterback from wherever the hell he's from.
Florida.
Yep.
Florida
State.
There we go.
So 5th overall, we have on the clock. 4th overall, we have the Indianapolis Colts.
We do.
Now,
and they're in trouble.
They are in trouble. I think they probably have half an eye on Lamar Jackson, but I think they've probably got two eyes on a quarterback in this draft. So I think they'll pick up Will Levis. I don't think it's the quarterback that they wanted, but I think it's the quarterback that they'll get. It helps with the fact that he's a guy that probably fits their organization. He's constantly fighting in the SEC non-stop. He's already been tested. He's gone in deep water. But saying that, I am not a fan of his. My comp to him was Nate Peterman. He, as Jim said,
What a great comp.
yeah, as Jim said, he fires you the ball and it's never on time and behind the numbers or well overthrown. It's just, I'm not a big fan of his at all. I think his reads are terrible, but to be a positive person, which I normally am not, but to be positive, there's a couple of things that are real positives for him. The fact that he has play calling experience, which a lot of QBs coming out of college don't. They'll give him multiple plays. He'll go into the huddle. He will call a play, and he changes it at the line. And there's a couple of occasions he's played under center. I mean, badly, but he's played under center, which a lot of QBs haven't. He's going to need to play earlier at Indianapolis than all of the other guys. I think it's a straightforward move that the Indianapolis Colts take Will Levis.
I'd like to know what Finn and Punk have come up with as their position groups, because it may be if those three are gone, I can't really pitch you Will Levis as the quarterback. So
just to be straight, I would not take Will Levis myself. Just to make that clear.
This makes my job very easy.
So the positions of need that Finn and I came up with for the Colts was quarterback 1, cornerback 2, and probably wide receiver at 3. So if the quarterback that we like is there, I think we have to pick him up. If the quarterback we like is not there, might we think about going elsewhere? Well, I'm trying to think who's actually on the Colts as a quarterback at the minute.
I don't even know.
Oh, it's currently Gardner Minshew and Nick Foles and Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah. So, a complete plethora of amazing quarterbacks in our quarterback room. I don't think we can really trust any of them going into the season. So,
can you trust Will Levis? I mean, that's what's left for you now. Or Hendon Hooker are the two other options as first-round potential quarterbacks. Dave isn't pitching him. I wouldn't pitch him, in all seriousness, as a top 5 quarterback, or even potentially a round 1 quarterback. He just didn't hit that for me. There are too many too many red flags. There are other areas of need. Cornerback, as you mentioned. If you want a cornerback, there are some guys up there that potentially you could go that early.
I think a cornerback gets picked here. I think that's the main issue.
Yeah, I don't.
I would probably expect an edge rusher to go next.
Yeah.
Or Jalen Carter.
And I don't think they pick out. I don't think they pick a defensive on this. I can't make a case for them straying away from cornerback. I mean,
Quitty Pay and Sam Abercam are their 2 edge rushers on the 4-3 defense. Yeah. So you could definitely put in an edge rusher now, and you would feel good because DeForest Buckner needs some help. You've wasted the first-round pick trade for him. You need to give him more support. I would probably pitch Will Anderson at this point from Alabama, the edge rusher, because he's a blue chip talent. If you've lost that quarterback you were hoping would fall for you at 4, because Raiders moved up into 3, they were hoping that the Cardinals had to take someone defensive and there'll be a third option there. Then I think it'd be sensible just to take a blue chip player and then worry about a quarterback after the draft, whether it was Trey Lance or Lamar Jackson. There are some options out there as alternatives if you go through the draft and you don't get your quarterback. So I would, in all seriousness, have to pitch Will Anderson as the kind of best non-quarterback player there. That's kind of not a can't miss prospect. This guy looks like a fully grown man playing peewee football when he was at Alabama. He's a scary person.
You are right. He's a fully grown man playing football, but Jim Irsay is a 10-year-old boy running the football team.
I know.
So there is no way he's passing up a quarterback when they need one in the first round.
Well, look, we've just given Punk and Finn 2 options there. We've got the quarterback and we've got the blue chip option at edge rusher. So it's up to them.
To me, a sensible choice is bring in Levis. We need a quarterback. The quarterbacks we've got aren't. we're not going to get anywhere anytime fast with them. Put it that way.
Slandering
I
Gardner
think.
Minshew. All right.
I think Gardner Minshew is a good backup.
As Jim Irsay, I think, you know, I want to be known as front page news. I like being in the news. I like
Yes, you are
having
very
Jeff
right.
Saturday as my coach, and having to answer questions about my decisions. So I think the sensible thing is to do the quarterback route in this scenario, because I'm not sure that I could deal with the fans if I didn't get a quarterback in this draft. Now, it may well be that actually there's someone I've really got my eye on in the second or third round. I don't know. As you lot know, we tend not to go that deep. But I just struggle to see the Colts picking anyone other than a quarterback. I mean, it may be the Colts that move to 3 and the Raiders end up moving to 4. Who knows? But I think I'm siding with you, Finn. I think the Colts will have to go quarterback. I think they're almost forced into it,
I think it's
because I
sensible,
don't
isn't it?
think the fans will accept anyone else as at that position.
Jesus. Okay, so we're taking Will Levis, are we, at number 4?
Yeah,
We are
we are.
taking Will Levis at 4, and that's 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks.
Wow. I mean, it can
Mhm.
happen, I guess, but yeah,
It's
wow.
because the only reason it's happened is because we've moved Las Vegas to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah,
move
yeah.
doesn't happen, you
Mhm.
don't get 4 in the top 4.
No.
You get 3 in the top 4, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
So fifth on the board, we've got the Seattle Seahawks. Finn,
Finn.
what do you lot need?
We need. Well, we're still lacking strength on the defense side of the ball.
You're in luck.
Made some good moves. Yeah, we brought back in Bobby Wagner. That's going to be not only major for on the field, but also in the locker room as well. But still, it's since the Legion of Boom days, it's steadily gone downhill, and we need to try and turn that around.
I mean, you lot are going to love Draymond Jones. Just saying, you're going to absolutely love him. He's so good. He's just come across from the Broncos.
Got to get his own little Broncos hype in.
No, it's true that and he's defensive side of the ball, and I think he is a massive addition, and he'll take pressure off him, and Bobby Wagner will allow Devin Bush, who you've also bought in from Pittsburgh, you'll allow him to flourish as well. I think the defense for Seattle is going to be massively underrated next year, like seriously underrated, because you're getting some really good picks, and I think you bought in it's not Justin Love, Julian Love from the Giants as well, who is a safety I really like. I really like him. I think genuinely it's a sneaky good defense this year, and he's gone under the radar.
So are we looking at defensive front 7?
I think from my point of view, I think with Seattle, you are looking at an edge rusher, someone maybe a big bodied nose tackle. If you want to go offense, I mean, you're not going quarterback here. You might want to pick up another wide receiver, but I think it's too early in the draft. So I think my thinking for the Seahawks would be to go with the premier edge rusher in this draft, because all you've seen come off the board so far are quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, but there is an X factor in here. It's not just an edge rusher, but we've got Jalen Carter at defensive end. I mean, you play a 3-4 defense, but he's better than, I don't know. You got some really good inside defense, but Draymond Jones and Jerome Reed are your 2 ends, and then you got Brian Moan, in the middle.
Finn, what do you actually want? Do you want a big, pass rushing, sack killing quarterback killer, or do you want something a little more nuanced?
I think someone that's going to get up in your face, be disruptive, kill off the opposition,
Get people off the field.
get people off.
Right.
Well, I think what you need to be clear on is, do you want someone rushing through the center, or do you want someone rushing from the side? So do you want kind of that defensive end outside linebacker on a 4-3?
Yes.
Or do you want someone rushing through the middle as a power rusher
I
from
want you
center?
to find me the next Micah Parsons.
Okay.
Well, that's Will Anderson then. I think
Yes.
that makes sense. You run a 3-4, so it makes sense to have Will Anderson there.
I agree.
Yeah, I think this is
That
a kind of
consensus
no-brainer.
between you two on a pick.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
happens
Very
near the top
happy
of the
as well.
draft typically. As we get lower
Will
down, we'll start
Anderson-
hitting
Yeah,
players that
okay.
we don't.
Will Anderson for a long time now. I've been banging on. I mean, his nickname's the Terminator. He is phenomenal. He is
He's great.
so good, and I am so glad he's not in my division because he would kill my
That
quarterback twice a year.
That's anyone nicknamed the Terminator sounds
Yeah.
like a Seattle type player, to be honest.
Honestly, I'm a massive fan of it. And the second you say I want someone rushing from the outside, some people might try and pitch you another player. I think again very talented, but there's clear room between Will Anderson and everyone else in the pass rush category.
Yeah, but I think you'd be sprinting to the podium to get Will
Yes.
Anderson at this point. It just
I
makes
agree.
far too much sense.
And just for the record, that's our second consensus pick so far this draft.
Well, all right, number one overall doesn't really count, does it?
It does a bit.
Cool. There we go then.
I
Will
think,
Anderson,
decision made.
5 to the Seahawks.
William Anderson. Okay, lock that in. And number 6, this should be easy again because it's the Lions. Picking at 6. And
So positionally, Lions, we were looking at tackle, cornerback, right guard, possibly an edge rusher or a defensive lineman. They could probably do with a tight end as well, but it's far too early in the draft to be looking at a tight end. So
yeah,
we'll knock that over. So Finn, what do you think the most pressing need is for the Lions?
I think someone come in similar, not rushing, not similar to the Seahawks where you're coming in from sort of rushing from the side. I think rushing from the center, shoring up interior defense to me is the main.
So last season they
Main.
drafted what's his Ed?
Aiden Richardson.
Aiden
Thank you.
Hutchinson
Aiden Hutchinson.
Hutchinson.
So
and Jameson
what we're
Williams,
looking-
who's
what
now
we're
suspended
looking
for
for-
6 games.
what we're looking for then is a complementary piece.
So I think
It's
what,
so
into that
easy.
line.
This is
Is that
so
what we want,
easy.
Finn?
the question again is the same as the Seattle one. Do you want an outside rusher or an inside rusher?
They play 4-3, so
They play 4-3, so yeah, it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. But
So if I would then offer you Tyree Wilson. Okay. Now my comp for him was Max Crosby. You're putting what you're basically getting then is one side you've got Aiden Hutchinson, the other side you've got Tyree Wilson. He's 6'6", had 50 pressures last year. He's a constant handful, and the other part to it is he's a consummate professional, which I'm sure we'll discuss in a moment. Some other people necessarily aren't. He's done the right thing consistently, and he's always a handful for defenders. He is a very, very good safe pick and will not cause you any headaches and will be the man that you want in the locker room. Jim, over to you.
congratulations, Dave, on setting me up perfectly here for
Yes, absolutely.
what many consider to be the best player in the draft, and that is defensive end / that is Jalen Carter. In a Georgia defense that included number 1 pick last year, Trayvon Walker, round 1 pick Jordan Davis, round 1 pick Quay Walker, round 1 pick Devontae Wyatt, Lewis Seen, I think went in round 2, maybe Devontae went in round 2, but 5 players on that defense in the first 2 rounds of last year's draft. Jalen Carter was the best player on that team, and they all agree to it as well. So he has the raw talent. There are obvious red flags, but Detroit is a place that you can go to now, and it's not a place where they'll suffer fools. They have the right coaching staff, I think, and the players in place to curb anything that's going on there.
He has more red flags than the Monaco Grand Prix. He turned
Talk to
up
me about these red
9.
flags.
He turned up 9 pounds overweight.
9 pounds. He's over
to the-
300
to the
pounds anyway. Who
draft.
cares about 9 pounds? That's a big
Yes,
dinner.
but he turned up to the draft. Behave. He turned up to the draft overweight and chose
No,
not to run
Pro
because
day.
he
It was his
couldn't
pro day,
run.
Dave.
Whatever. Either way, turned up. That's even worse. Turned up to his pro day 9 pounds overweight. It's almost.
He's been going through a lot of stuff emotionally. All right.
Oh, I'm sure he has. Lovely.
Yeah.
Just what I want. Just someone in my locker room where it's all about being a guy who's got baggage.
He's the better
Sorry,
player,
not,
Dave.
I agree that Jalen Carter has the potential to be a good player. My comp for him is Quinnen Williams, but
Yeah.
how often is he going to be on the field? And if I'm putting this
every
much
day.
draft capital, into someone, I want it to be someone who's dependable and able to shine on a Texas Tech team that had no one else, let alone a team that was stacked. So I'd rather go with Tyree Wilson than with Jalen Carter, just because it's more of a slam dunk.
Detroit have enough picks to make this
genuine
pick.
in your comps there for saying that Quinn Williams and Max Crosby are the two?
I think Jalen Carter has the potential in terms of talent to be Quinn Williams. I think that Tyree Wilson more than has enough ability to get up to Max Crosby, more than enough. But they're different players. Jalen Carter will be a rusher from inside out. I think he'll try and hit the gaps, and he'll be a nightmare for a sort of center and guard or guard and tackle.
More of a Warren Sapp.
Tyree Wilson will constantly be running from the outside. He's a power rusher with finesse moves, and not too bad in coverage as well.
So Finn,
Cool. Yeah.
Going off those two then, and if you're Dan Campbell, what do you think you'd like to do?
I think my two, I think both sound really solid players.
Both are phenomenal players.
My thought is, do we play a bit safer and have someone that we can rely on the field and in the locker room, both sort of from a red flag point of view, and just keep the team solid? We've got a clear plan. Do we want to risk bringing in someone with baggage that can deviate and push us off course slightly? So for that, I'd probably lean more towards Dave's pick.
Yep, Tyree Wilson. And the gap between Tyree Wilson and Jalen Carter, I don't think is enormous, but Jim's right. Jalen Carter is the more talented player, without doubt.
I think as the GM for the Lions, I would sit here and go, we built a lot of momentum up last season. We've actually got a really good squad, and I would not want to do something to derail that now. So I agree. I think you go with the safe pick. I think you go with Tyree Wilson. I think you have that edge rushing capability with Hutchinson. I mean, we've already seen Hutchinson can play multiple positions on the line. He can even drop into coverage and get interceptions. So, I think from Dan Campbell's point of view, why would you rock the boat when, there's a fag papers difference between the two talent wise? But it sounds like there's quite a lot of difference. Not personality wise, but baggage wise. So I think, what number are we on? 7, 6.
That was a 7.
5,
6.
Was it?
Was 6. When that was a 7.
6. That was
the
a
Carolines at 6.
Sorry, which is the Arizona Cardinals.
Wilson.
It's Arizona Cardinals who moved down from 3 with the Raiders.
Now the Cardinals, yeah.
Well, we give them Jalen Carter, right? Because they don't give a crap who they take.
Yes,
it's just they need anyone.
They just need the best player on the board.
The Arizona Cardinals would take Jalen Carter first overall. I don't think they care.
And obviously you've got Jonathan Gannon, their defensive coordinator. He'll think that he can handle that situation. I think it's a terrible situation for Jalen to go into.
Interestingly, Finn had picked edge rush, cornerback.
The best ones have gone.
Interior offensive line for the Cardinals as positions of need. So,
sorry, Finn,
right in there. So
he's just that wild card pick there. That's just like you can't let him fall too far because the upside is enormous. And they've lost so many players. You've got to shoot for something.
Yeah, I agree. It's a no-brainer.
Cool.
So Jalen Carter to the Cardinals.
Bring him in.
The only thing I think is, because we know that NFL teams do a lot of background digging, and we know the dirt on Jalen Carter. It could be that there's a lot of other stuff that we don't know, like really, really bad stuff. Even Arizona go, I'm not sure about this. Let's.
I don't think Arizona care. I mean, look at
maybe.
the stuff they've got.
I'll
tell you a very funny story. This sums up Arizona. We were in Arizona, we were driving a car, and we stopped at a petrol station, and a policeman said to me, "Hey, where are you from?" I said, "Oh, we're from England." And he goes, "Hey, you got any guns in the car?" I was like, "No." He went, "Why not?" That's Arizona. Genuinely, that's Arizona. So there you go. Good luck, Jalen Carter.
So the Atlanta Falcons at
Number
pick
8
8.
on the
What are they
board.
looking for, guys? What are we pitching you?
So Atlanta, I mean, you can go with a plethora of positions here, really, but we narrowed it down to again an edge rusher, a wide receiver, or anyone on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Edge rusher, wide receiver, and on defensive line.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim.
Yes. It
Nice
seems
all synced up.
well, yeah. It seems a bit. We've lost the 2 best edge rushers in Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson. We've lost the wild card center guy in Jalen Carter. The next one would typically be a cornerback, but they don't need a cornerback because they've just taken Jeff Okuda and they've got AJ Terrell on the other side. So
yeah.
See, this could, in theory, with everything, if everything falls the way it's fallen so far, the Falcons could look to drop out of this spot. And drop backwards.
But then,
so is there anyone that we want to move up at this point?
I think someone might move up for a cornerback. I think that's what might happen. And Atlanta will be willing to move down a couple of places because they don't need a cornerback. So they're going to think if we move down a couple of places, we'll still have up there. And
the Jets. The
first team the first team that we've got where the cornerback is a position of need is the Bears, and they're just one spot behind.
One behind, so
they're not going to bother.
And the Falcons don't need. Well, that's not stopped the Bears before from moving up in a draft 1 spot when they didn't need to.
Different organization.
Still a Ryan P, isn't it? You know, and a head coach called Matt.
The Eagles possibly could go corner.
I think in terms of corner, you're looking at the Jets and the Patriots. But would they? Would you drop that far?
Capital to get up though, have they?
They jump that.
I think we're going to have to stick with the Falcons at this position.
I think we have to.
Okay, so let's just think about this. So did we say
make it difficult for you?
Anyone on the C line?
Yeah.
Or it's too high for a wide receiver. You're not getting a wide receiver unless you're reaching for one.
No.
Let's
I don't think they need on anyone on the defensive line. They've just picked up Calais Campbell. They've got David Onyemata and
but Calais Campbell's 137.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
He's still effective. They've still got Eddie Goldman, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett. I think there's talent on that defensive line. What if I pitched you a tackle, like a genuine
offensive tackle?
A genuine offensive tackle who's quality. I mean, it's going to improve your team. You're going to have a quarterback who's running for his life. So if I offered you Paris Johnson Jr., who my comp for him is Charles Cross, and I think he's the best tackle. He's brilliant in pass protection. Probably needs a little bit of improvement on the run defense. Holes appear at times, but he is, in my opinion, the out and out outstanding offensive tackle. And I don't care what needs are. Any team can always do with an offensive tackle.
Tackles, yeah, definitely.
And much like Jim, he swings both ways as well. Goes to right tackle and left tackle.
Okay,
there we go.
So Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State.
I'm going to listen to the brief, and I'm going to pitch you an edge rusher, and I'm going to pitch Nolan Smith from Georgia.
It's too far.
Not necessarily. 6'2", 238 pounds. My comp from is Hassan Reddick. He is uber quick. It's an absolute missile to the quarterback. He's got a real good ball rush. So he because he's so quick, he just bullies the offensive tackle right back into the quarterback. He is fairly devastating as a player. I think that's the kind of Atlanta like speed. So, and he is the quickest of all the edge rushers in the draft.
Yeah, I think he is a 3-down player, but let's not forget, he was playing in that Georgia defense that had Jalen Carter in the middle, so he was always on single man-to-man, always, and being an undersized rush outside rusher who's always on single man, it throws up red flags for me. I don't think he's a bad
He's 1
player.
inch shorter than Will Anderson.
I think he's got a low ceiling and a high floor. He is, but he's not as good as Will Anderson.
Well, no, but he's gone. So I've got to pitch you someone else.
No, but absolutely saying he's 1 inch shorter. I mean, how many players are the same height as Ray Rice? Ray Rice? Not Ray Rice.
Ray Rice.
There you go. No,
Ray.
Jerry
different
Rice.
Rice.
You trying to
Yeah.
say?
Jerry Rice.
Ravens.
Yeah, completely
my
different.
God.
How many
Yeah.
players the same height as Jerry Rice? It's not the same thing. I think it's too rich for him. I think if you're picking 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe. I just think
Well,
it's a
that's
little bit
Dave's
too rich.
board. They've asked me
But
for an edge rusher, so I'm giving
So,
someone on the defensive line that could
absolutely. So
potentially go top 10.
if I can add one thing to it as well. Remember I said about the analytics thing where I've got sort of 20 different websites. The average pick position for him was 17.3. The average pick position for Paris Johnson was 13.3. So
it's a bit of a reach
based
for
on
both of
Based
them.
on need, it's
I agree 100%. But if we're doing it based on your need, I think I'm giving you the best value in terms of tackle, because I think, although it's not specific to what you've said, I think tackle is always a need for every single team.
Finn, what do you think?
Mhm.
Do you think because of the way the board's fallen, we throw the required pieces out the window? Or do you think we stick with what we think we need, in which case we go with the edge rusher?
I think, if we stick with what we need, then we've got a player that's coming in maybe a lot higher than what was anticipated, and whether that's going to have sort of you're going to put more underlying pressure to it. Whereas, throwing, I think it hasn't really fallen too kindly for us, essentially. I think in reality, we probably could have looked at sort of a trade out with someone, but who that would be tight, or even if just sort of dropping out sort of altogether. But I think I'm liking the look of Dave's pitch, just because it has all been thrown out, going with someone that, as Dave says, you're always going to need an offensive tackle, and if he's up there, then I don't see it being a bad move, particularly in a position that we're not the best of spots.
Is Paris Johnson the best tackle on the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll go
In
with
my
him
opinion,
then.
yes.
If he's genuinely the best one on the board, then we'll take him. Because at that point, like Finn said, nothing's been kind to us. We've probably looked to trade out if we can, but if we are stuck there, then I think it sounds like the edge rusher is a step too far.
If
You're
you're
picking into a
Falcons are not a
44.
knee-jerk organization. They're not like the Raiders that just fall in love with a player and draft them regardless. So, I think they'd be sensible around and go, okay, well, we haven't got what we want, so let's go best player available. So if Paris Johnson Jr. can help my offensive line with my iffy quarterbacking and no receivers, then at least I might have a quarterback to end the season with. So, yeah, I think at pick 8, the Falcons will go with Paris Johnson Jr.
I think it's a good pick. I genuinely do. And I think Tyler Heineke will be the starting QB for the Falcons next year. And the more time you can give him, the better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, so number
Cool.
9 is the Bears, who used to be the number 1 pick. Now they're sat there,
Yeah.
number 9. And they've just
Now they're
lost the
sat
best
in
tackle on the board. It's just come off. So
They need
we know
a
they're
lot,
backing
but
Justin Fields, but they've got to help him out more than they've
Yes.
got to do O-line, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
absolutely.
Positionally for the Bears, we've got offensive
Tackle, guard, or center.
Yeah, exactly. We've got offensive tackle. We've also got a bit of help on the corner, and we thought they could probably do with at some point a running back, but this is far too early for that. And maybe something on the D line. So, but I agree. I think you've got to try and start protecting Justin Fields, see if he can actually throw the football. So, I would suggest maybe an offensive tackle or an offensive guard at this position. Finn, thoughts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're sticking with Fields. We've seen what he can do with his legs. We need to give him time in the pocket and start seeing what he can do with his arm. So yeah, I would go tackle or somewhere else on the O-line, whether that be a guard.
Okay, well, I mean, the best player they reckon on the O-line now is going to be Peter Skoronsky from Northwestern, who, before Dave says that, He only gave up 6 pressures on 474 pass blocking attempts last year at left tackle. Now, the only issue with Peter Skoronsky is he's got sub 33-inch arms. So the consensus is that he'll probably have to go to guard in the NFL. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. He is uber athletic. He is a very, very solid player. Some people still say he's a tackle because that's where he played at college, but the consensus is that he'll have to chip into guard. But he will be one of those best guards in the league type. He is a very solid prospect.
Yeah, my pick was Peter Skoronsky as well, mainly because he can play all across the line and has played
terrible.
He played all across the line.
An argument here.
No. I was annoyed because you take my pick. He can play all across the line, so wherever you've got a gap, he will fill in. But the biggest point of this is he is, for a lineman, rapid. And when you're playing essentially an outside zone quarterback read on every other play, you need a tackle or a guard that can keep up. He is, and I will not have any argument about it, the perfect pick for Chicago. Simple as that.
Consensus then?
Yes, 100%.
Chicago Bears will pick Peter Skoronsky.
And because he's from Northwestern, he probably won't even have to move house. So you got there, nice and comfortable in his surroundings.
Either he'll be fine with the goals.
Oh, he'll be absolutely fine.
There we go.
We round out the top 10 with the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is where it gets interesting.
This can go anywhere. So what do you want?
Right. Okay. You ready for this? So we could do with probably an edge rusher, a running back, a safety, a cornerback, someone on the D line.
Well, this is best player
pitch me a player
because this is a free pick.
I think the Eagles will probably start looking maybe at cornerback here, possibly.
Would have security on that,
just because of what they've lost in the off season.
They've got Darius Slay and James Bradbury as the 2 starting cornerbacks. They brought in Greedy Williams from Cleveland, who was a first round.
They lost them both. They lost them both, and then re-signed them. Back. Yeah, and then brought in Greedy Williams, who was a former first.
They've lost safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, so that was their big loss.
To the Lions.
But cornerback, they're actually stacked.
Yeah,
feels rich for a safety.
I can't picture a safety in round 1, unfortunately.
Right.
Well, maybe at the bottom of round 1, we've got one.
Yeah, at the bottom, not a 10.
At the bottom of round 1,
not in the 10.
Let me think. Edge, D line. Who's on the D line that's left?
All of this is noise. Because I know who I'm going to pick, and I'm pretty sure Jim's going to agree with me as well.
Pitch, then.
So, what you've just done is signed your quarterback to a $250 million deal, and you need someone who's going to help him out. Your offensive line's already good, and let's be honest, you probably don't need a wide receiver or a tight end. So you're going to pick a running back, and you're picking Bijan Robinson, who is a brilliant running back who can also play in slot because he's that good with his hands as well. And please just watch his tape. It is the most explosive tape I've seen from a running back. Jim, who's your comp for Bijan Robinson?
Daniel Tomlinson.
There you go. That's everything you need to know. So you should be drafting Bijan Robinson.
Mic drop. There we are.
Yeah.
So we are actually taking a running back in the top 10, even though you two every year, and if you go back and listen to previous drafts, you crucify people for taking
only because of 2 factors. Number one, it's the Eagles. They don't really need any other position. There's no value in picking any other position. They will pick Bijan Robinson, and he will help them from day one. It's that simple. He will be an instant. We are now a better team because of the guy we've picked in the top 10.
He's a football player.
He will have more of an impact immediately than any of the other guys we've picked. Immediately. And everyone will say, Harry Roseman's done it again. He hasn't. He's done the simple thing that 2 idiots on a UK podcast are calling him to do, which I know Jim's going to say the same thing in a second.
Yeah, the only slight worry with this one is that they're talking about Derrick Henry and bringing him in, which seems like an absolute waste of time.
But as of now, they haven't.
No, they haven't. As of recording, they haven't done that. No, they've not done that. Just check my phone. So yeah, he's a receiver and a running back in one. He's just as comfortable catching the ball out the back. Yeah, just a scary weapon. You want to do what the opposition don't want you to do, and if you pick up Bijan Robinson, everyone in the NFC is going to be going, well, pack it up. We'll have to go again next year. He's one of those guys. I've comped him as LT, and I think he is.
My comp for him. Sorry, I was going to say my comp for him is Saquon Barkley. So even though he's not LT, I'm still saying he's very, very good.
And I think he looks better than Saquon when I watched Saquon at Penn State.
I think we'd probably just go with that then.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Sounds like consent. Well, there's no point in prolonging this if we don't need to, and you two are agreeing far too much. So let's get on to something that you can argue about.
Well, let's before we do that, I just want to show you people then the top 10. So
do the rundown. Top of the pop styly.
Here we are, guys. So at number 1, we took Bryce Young to the Panthers. At number 2, CJ Stroud to the Texans. At number 3 was a Raiders move up for Anthony Richardson from Florida. Pick 4, and Will Levis went to the Colts, which could well happen. And then 5, Will Anderson to the Seahawks. Tyree Wilson to the Lions. Jalen Carter to the Cardinals. Harris Johnson Jr. to the Falcons. Peter Skoronski to the Bears. And Bijan Robinson to the Philadelphia Eagles. Only one trade so far. Little ones will probably happen pretty soon.
Falcons could I think still trade out, but not yet. We'll see.
So there we go. There was our top 10. Perfect. I'm quite happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty decent.
No, especially as 5 of my players were picked, I'm quite happy with that.
There were some consensus ones in there as well, Dave.
There's five. There's 5 consensus picks and 5 of my picks.
That's not how we're doing this, all right? It's not competition.
That might not be how you're doing
it.
Everything in life is a competition. That's why my 2-year-old's going to have a really hard upbringing because I'm not letting him anything.
There are winners in competition. There are losers, and that brings us nicely onto the Tennessee Titans. Because let's face it, boys, they're in trouble. They've only got
5 picks.
6 picks. 6 picks.
6.
Not many. They have Ryan Tannehill for one more year.
Yeah.
Basically.
Are we counting out Monique Willis? Are we saying, look, he's done now? Because he's had a couple of opportunities and
strange,
he's
isn't
sunk
it?
in both
I don't
of them.
think he's done, but I'm not sure they're ready to hitch the wagon to him.
I think that's really important going forward. Not for this draft necessarily.
Those are the only 2 quarterbacks on the depth chart as well. They moved off Josh Dobbs, so it's just Tannehill and Malik Willis.
So their defense is actually really not too bad. Before I crack on, what are your needs? What do you think they need?
So positionally, we came up with a few obvious things. I mean, a wide receiver. Offensive tackle, anywhere really on the offensive line we could accept. And then maybe a quarterback, but I'm looking at this going, there's no quarterback here, so they'll probably look to pick someone up late.
Go for sort of trade afterwards.
Yeah.
I think the main area of focus is the offense. Just
has
need
to be offense.
More options. Okay. Got Henry, obviously, at this time he's still here, but we don't know what exactly is going to happen with him. But just to bring in some more options, moving the ball down the field.
If you have to stick with Tannehill for another season, you have to do that. So
can I pitch a trade?
If you're going to do that, you have to almost throw to him. Now, yes, that was the other thing I was going to say was the only other possibility for the Titans is trading out of this position entirely and picking up a couple of picks somewhere else.
Can I pitch a trade that the Texans move up 1 spot and give them like a third or something like that? And the 1 spot they're moving up for is a wide receiver because they've already got CJ Stroud, and I think they get his playmate. They go and get the Ohio State, the best wide receiver in this class. They move up and they say, we think the Titans are open for business. Let's move up 1 spot. And it's do exactly the same as the Bengals did. The Bengals went and got Joe Burrow.
The problem you may have with that is that both teams want the wide receiver.
True,
So
but I
depend
think.
on whether the Titans like somebody else as
But
much.
what do the Titans want? Do the Titans want more? Do they want a wide receiver, or do they want the pick?
They probably want more picks. Let's be honest. If you're only moving one spot, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm not
It
against
is in
that
division.
trade.
It is in division,
is in
remember,
division.
guys.
It
So that's
is
always a bit
division,
more
that's
spicy.
true. That's true.
But it's as we saw with the Bengals. The Bengals went and got the wide receiver, and then went and got his playmate, the wide receiver as well. Went and got the quarterback, and then the wide receiver. So that's what I'd sort of go with.
I'm not opposed to this trade, to be honest. I think when Punk and I were working out positions of need, we also sort of put wide receiver in for the Texans being a position of need, particularly if they've then picking up CJ Stroud early as well. Then
the thing is, let's not forget that the Titans are only 1 year removed from picking up a first round wide receiver as well. So teams don't normally draft wide receivers year on year. So I think there's probably a little bit of an allergy towards doing that, but I can see
unless you drafted Traylon Burks in the first
round.
round.
And if you've run nothing but Derrick Henry down the middle for an entire season, then you know. But no, I have no problem with making that trade. So I think I agree. I think ding dong, trade bell.
I think the trade works more for the Titans than for the Texans, though, because do the Texans really think that the Titans are going to take a wide receiver?
No, but I think the Texans think that the Titans are open for business and get in there before anyone else does.
Okay.
That's my thought process.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Let me try and do this trade then on here. So you just talk amongst yourselves for a second.
So I can tell you
talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba then, because that's who we're taking, right?
So who's the wide receiver? Yes.
So Jackson Smith and Jigba is my comp for him. His floor, and this is really important. His floor, I think, is CeeDee Lamb. I think if he comes in and he is as bad as he is going to be, I think that his floor is CeeDee Lamb. His ceiling, I think, is Stephon Diggs. I think he's that good in the Ohio State offense. He didn't play that much last year because of a hamstring injury, but in the prior year when they were absolutely stacked on wide receiver, he was still the best player. It's the fact that when you watch him, it's that cleanness. And sometimes people look at wide receiver and go, I can't tell the difference between him and him. Everyone can see the difference because he catches the ball on the move, doesn't break stride, and keeps going. And that builds you not only an extra 2 or 3 yards on the run, but gets you past the first man, so therefore gives you an extra 15 yards. He is simply phenomenal. And if you can get him in an offense and try and build some kind of offensive line that can protect CJ Stroud, you're basically getting two people who already know each other. And that's why I think this one movement, this really works. I think it's an absolute no-brainer.
Stats-wise, what is he? I mean, what is he, 6'6", 6'4", 6'3"?
He's 6 foot. 6 foot, 193.
So he's not a big DK Metcalf style receiver. Nope. He's more of a...
No, that's why I say he's a CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Cool.
I cannot get this trade to go through. They will not accept this trade no matter what I
do. Breaking the system.
Giving them the entire draft.
Offer them everything next year. Do a full...
It's decline. They don't like each other. Well, can we say then, just for our own benefit, well, if I can't get this through, that we did make this trade because the Titans still picking next anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's go with the Titans then.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, am I doing this wrong? I don't see how this is not working. But it will not do it. So, okay, so let's talk about the Titans then. So they've moved down. They've got an extra couple of picks, max. Mm-hmm. Do the Titans? So the person I would pitch then for the Titans would be Broderick Jones, who is sorry, Dave, the best tackle on the board now that we've lost Paris Johnson Jr. He is a bully of an offensive tackle. You're not going through him, so you've got to go round him. I haven't got his size a bit on. Have you got him, Dave?
He's 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah. He earned 84.1 pass blocking grade in his first full season. Left tackle for Georgia.
The problem is he's played left tackle, and the Titans already have a left tackle with Andre Dillard, so you're going to have to move him to right. I'm not sure you can necessarily do that immediately, but I agree with the pick because Paris Johnson's not on the board. I think the only other option is Darnell Wright, but Darnell Wright, this is a bit too rich.
Yeah. So consensus pick is Broderick Jones.
He can
think so. I mean, the only other option I can give you. Right. The only other option I can give you is a pass rush.
Receiver, what would you do?
I'd give you. Sorry.
If they were going to fall in love with another wide receiver other than whoever it was, we just
Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson, and my comp for him is Mike Williams. I think Quentin Johnson's very good. I don't think there's anything wrong with him at all. He's struggled a bit in tight coverage, but when he's transitioning to the pros, he's as fast as a firework and he's 6'4", so that will transition to the pros pretty quickly. The reason he's not getting the reason he's not getting coverage at the moment is because he's constantly double manned. That's probably not going to happen in this offense. Is it the right pick for the Titans? Not sure.
Probably not.
Because they're a run-heavy team.
Finn, what would you think on between the receiver and the tackle?
I'm leaning towards the tackle. I think we shore up the O-line to protect Tannehill, whether he is Tannehill for another year. And there's, we're going to pick up another receiver. We can pick up a receiver further down the draft.
The benefit for this as well is you're giving yourself a second tackle. And let's be honest, the Titans are still a run first team. They're a run first, run second, run third team, and then probably punt fourth. To be perfectly honest, I think it's absolutely the right move.
Yeah, I agree. I think the tackle goes. So Broderick Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just trying to make this bloody thing work. I don't know why it's not. No, it's just declining. So right, I'm going to put Broderick Jones to the Titans. And I'm going to put Jackson Smith and Jigba
to the Texans.
So in our world, that went the other way around. On the screen that will show on an update, that didn't happen. So 13, and we have the New York Football Jets.
Now, I originally had Broderick Jones going to the Jets.
Hey, you better rethink quite quickly.
Yeah, so Jim, off you trot, because I need to rethink.
Hang on. I want the remit from my superiors.
Okay.
Go on, Finn. What do you want?
I think we need shore up the O-line. So I'm going tackle, throwing in centre would be nice as well. And then a position that I think we need, but we're not going to go for in round one would also be a safety as well. But that's not a round one pick.
As of this moment, we could also do with a quarterback, but. That's a whole different podcast.
You guys are actually pretty desperate for a quarterback right now. It's either Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, or Chris Streveler at the moment.
Yeah.
No one else in the building.
They'll be all right. They'll be all right. Don't worry about that. They'll be okay.
Anything on the O-line or a safety?
Okay.
Okay, Jim, go.
Yeah, this is a bit weird because obviously you've got Mekhi Becton at left tackle and Dwayne Brown as well. And then on the right side, you've got Max Mitchell. So
a guard will be good. A center would
I don't think you're picking up a guard here.
Well, there is one guard that you could still take around this level.
Rich.
For you, maybe, not for everyone. Okay, so the right tackle would be Darnell Wright. And the guard would be Osiris Torrance. So I'll pitch you Osiris Torrance from Florida. What?
No, carry on.
Look at this. Disrespect.
I'm just going to do some maths. So you carry on.
He's 6'5", 347 pounds. Calculate that. He's a big boy to try and overpower. He started 3 seasons at Louisiana before transferring to Florida, and he earned an 88% overall grade last season. So you want someone to protect your potential future Hall of Fame quarterback, not Zach Wilson, then you could do a lot worse than Osiris Torrance right now. That's what I'm going to
So Osiris Torrance, I just had a look. My comp for him was Chris Lindstrom because I think he's a good player. I think he's a second-round talent. And the math that I was doing, of the 20 individual draft networks that I've looked at, 12 of them have a second round grade on him, and his average pick position is 29.7. It's too rich. I like Osiris Torrance, and I think he'll sneak into the first round. This is too rich. I think if I draft you a corner, what I'd want to draft you is Joey Porter Jr., who I think is a very, very good positional player. I think that one of the main reasons you're picking him is because the Patriots really want him. Like, he is such a Belichick player. It's ridiculous. He can play all across the back line. He'll play at free safety as well if you need him to. He'll be a nickel. His dad was an NFL player, although he was a linebacker and a Steeler. So there's negatives. But I think he's an absolute safe pick. And he is, for me, best position player that you need. I don't think he's the best cornerback, 'cause I think Christian Gonzalez is. But
Devin
he is the
Witherspoon's
best
the
player.
best cornerback.
No, Christian Gonzalez. I think that Joey Porter Jr. will fit into your scheme better. He's your kind of player, and he's a leader as well.
I am kind of tempted with teaming him up with Sauce Gardner. I think that would be quite an interesting little.
Gardner plays
to have
outside,
on
Joey
the
Porter Jr.
outside.
plays inside, so
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
that perfect matchup as well. That's
Exactly.
why it'd be a bad thing to go
So-
and get Christian Gonzalez as well.
I'm not necessarily hating the fact that you're pitching a player that we probably didn't ask for initially. Finn, what are your thoughts?
I think it's I was initially being sold, but I think by Jim, but I think in hindsight it's probably going to be sold down the river.
You think
So
it's a
wait,
bad pick?
Don't
I
worry
like
about
to
what
think
other
it's
mock drafts have
brutal.
done. Mock drafts
I'm
don't
just
know
saying-
anything. Well, I don't know why you bothered even pulling
And
that.
what are
from
we
20
do-
other-
what are we
I've got-
doing right
these are
now?
stats. I've been given stats. You didn't,
Yes.
you know.
I
That's
gave you.
all I've
I
been-
gave you measurables from him, and I gave you a stat line from him, 88% over the
Yeah,
last
but I
year.
also got a stat line from Dave.
Yes, if you're picking a running back who's got a second round grade, that's fine because you can always go up. You can't pick a guard with a second round grade. That's my issue.
Yes. Okay.
I
Other
think the only-
mocks have put him in the first
From a
round.
shirt selling point of view, Joey Porter Jr. is selling me a lot more shirts than Osiris
Lawrence.
And we absolutely know the Patriots want him as well.
And if the Patriots want him as
Yeah,
well,
then
and we
it's
can
always-
stick one to the Patriots, then I'm
Right.
really
It's a
for
win-win.
that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's
yeah,
been far
think-
too long since a cornerback's even been mentioned, so it's kind of criminal. So, all right. And
Yeah,
There'll-
so
there'll
I
be a-
thi- I think
there'll be a
New
run on
York
them soon,
Jets
don't worry about that.
Probably do go cornerback,
Yeah.
and probably will go Joey Porter Jr.
Cool. Good
Done.
pick. And the Patriots are next.
Patriots are next.
The hell do the
on
Patriots
clock.
do now? Because last year they picked a
Patriots-
guard from
Well, they want-
Will
Well,
Chattanooga.
currently
still look
walking away
for a
their tears.
cornerback. They still want a cornerback. They're just now jumping up and down a little bit annoyed that they're not getting the one that they wanted. They could also do with a wide receiver, but when would you ever believe that the Patriots would draft a wide receiver in the middle of the first round? And they can probably do with some an offensive tackle if there's one available as well. But I would suggest
Did
that
that
the
last
fact
year.
that the Jets have gone cornerback, that cornerback's probably the area to look at because
Mhm.
there could be a little run on them, I would suggest.
Can I pitch first, Jim?
and then
I'm going to pitch you Noah Sewell. Now, he is a linebacker out of Oregon. On the ranking,
But not a cornerback then.
No, absolutely not. On the ranking, the average ranking that I've given, not I've given, but across the 20 networks, his average is 123. Now, I'm doing this on purpose because I know that this
The
is what the
Patriots.
Patriots do. Exactly. So forget anyone in the top half. We're going proper old school. He
Yeah.
fits the Patriots scheme 100%. He is a Patriots player. His brother is Penei Sewell, as in the Lions tackle. So he is a genuine football player. He's phenomenal. He absolutely fits the Patriots, and the Patriots will draft him. It's just a matter of when. And as it's the Patriots
It's
and
not
they're
because they've only
random,
got one pick in the first round. So
no, but that's what I'm
doesn't
saying.
matter
They
for the
should
Patriots.
they should pick him in the second round, but they absolutely will pick. His average is 123. I mean, the guard from Chattanooga that they picked was his average was 245.
Yeah.
Very strange, yeah.
Mhm.
Noah Sewell is a Patriot player. Forget about everything else. Forget about numbers. We know that the Patriots
Okay.
don't care about numbers. He is a Patriot player, and he is a proper throwback linebacker that will just murder the quarterback every single play. He is basically Matthew Judon with who is younger.
Jim?
cool.
Okay, well, I'll go with the cornerback then. That's actually highest rated on the board, and I completely agree with Dave. Of any team apart from the Packers, maybe that just are stupid.
Yes.
The Patriots have their own board, and they don't give a what you think.
Yeah,
They're taking their
100%.
player. Having said that, they've been so bad at drafting for so many years. You think maybe a light would come on at some point that
You
they
say
should
this
probably
every
listen to
year.
someone else. I know. I will have to pitch Devin Witherspoon from Illinois as the best cornerback in the class. My comp from is Joe Alexander. He just seems attached to the receiver. He just knows exactly where the receiver's going all the time.
That's my comp as well, by the way.
Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah, that's who I'm picking. He didn't play a lot of zone coverage, but he'll just delete a wide receiver from the field. They're in a division that has quite a few good wide receivers. And they're pretty good at sorting out cornerbacks, the Patriots. You know, they're missing JC Jackson, but was it Josh Johnson? Who's the guy? Jonathan Jones. So I think it was a JJ.
John Jones.
John Jones is actually
Thing
a
is-
pretty decent replacement there, but they've got Miles Bryant on the other side. So Devin Witherspoon is
I
an
agree
absolute
that
slam dunk.
I agree that Devin Witherspoon is a very, very good corner. But please remember, we are looking at what the Patriots will do, not what they should do. That's the only thing
They
I
will do
say.
it. I think they'll do it.
They won't. Come on. Give me a break. They
Stick
won't.
with the times.
They might do it.
They're going to trade up. Not only are they going to pick up Noah Sewell, they're going to trade up for him. That's what they're going to pick him at 3.
I'm going to get RSI finding Noah Sewell in the list to put him in.
Finn,
Yeah, long time.
thoughts?
I'm thinking we stick with what we're good at. We pick a player that we know will fit our system. With that being Noah, albeit we should hold off, but
Just to
I
say,
think
it's
we're
crazy
we're
to
good
pick
at-
Noah Sewell here, by the way. I'm just saying.
Mental. What's your stats on your 20 mock draft? Where have they got him?
133.
He was
120,
miles away,
123.
wasn't
123.
but this is
But
what the Patriots are good at.
so PFF had him at 145. Tankathon had him at 89. The highest rank was the Draft Board, which is a website, and they had him at 60. So there are some people who like him high. Sorry,
Yeah, but 60 still not that.
No, sorry, 47, not 60, 47. Another one had him at 60. So yeah, 47. So it is crazy to pick him, but this is the Patriots. It's what they do, and I kind of love a troll.
You know what? We've got it now recorded. So if it does happen on draft night, Dave, you
Yeah.
can wave that
Oh,
flag.
could you
and
imagine?
everyone
I'm
will know.
overruling you, Finn. I'm sorry.
That's
GM
why.
Hat is overruling coach and going, we're going cornerback. We're not reaching that much.
This is the
Got
thing.
to.
This is the thing. It's what we should do rather than what we
I
will do.
agree.
And you're
I agree
changing
the
the
Patriots
rules.
will do something weird and wonderful, but for the purpose of this, we're going with the cornerback.
I just want to say that Noah Sewell is a really good player. Like
Yeah.
really, really, really good player. And I think he's gonna be a decent NFL player. I really do. I think the Patriots will fall in love with him, and I think they'll want to draft. It wouldn't shock me if he goes in the second round to them. But it wouldn't shock
That
me if they go
feels
in the
better.
first. I spent a
Second round
long
feels I feel a lot
palatable.
more comfortable
I
going
felt-
second round on him than
I just want to say I spent a long time finding Noah Sewell for that pick. A lot of time went into that. I'm just saying, and you're basically getting rid of
you
it.
had your moment in the sun, but you're
Yes.
not getting your pick through the door. So
Okay.
Close.
Yeah.
I
It was
mean,
down
we
to me,
okay.
Dave.
With Finn's young, he got led by your fantastical stories on
It is.
players. I've done this a few times with you now. There's
But you know,
no
I'm-
I
chance.
know what he's
But
doing.
you know I'm right though. Yeah.
All right. The Green Bay Packers at 15, another team that just don't care about your draft board at all. If they did, they'd have drafted a wide receiver at some point in the last 10 years with the first round pick. They haven't. They still won't because Brian Gutekunst doesn't like you. But what should we be aiming at here, guys? Finn, what's the position grouping?
Exactly like you say, we've
Mhm.
got wide receiver listed. Again, Green
on the
Bay does
list.
not draft
Pointless.
wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's
So
always
we've
on the
got
list,
edge
but it never comes
rusher,
through.
tight end, and possibly quarterback, but I'm not sure whether this is a little bit too rich for another quarterback. So let's say edge rusher and tight end at this point.
Okay. Dave, you want to pitch a different edge rusher?
So-
Finn?
I think
There's-
absolutely tight end is a need. Their top tight end on the depth chart at the moment is Josiah DeGura, who's got 39 career receptions. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to write that down. I'm not even sure I pronounced it correctly.
All right. It was a second round pick for them.
Is he really? Jesus
I think
Christ.
second or third max. It was third. Yeah.
I think receiver and edge are definite needs, but the edge, there's not a lot of difference between an edge you're going to pick up now and one you're going to pick in the second round. So
Yeah.
I think unless you're desperate for edge, I think you can probably get away with it. Mike Mayer rather. So he's from Notre Dame. He is a pretty big guy. He's a big old guy, and he can act as an extra offensive lineman. He's 6'5". Good in the receiving game. My comp for him's Mark Andrews, but he blocks like Mercedes Lewis, and obviously Mercedes Lewis was maybe even still is, but not active on the roster at the moment. So Mike Mayer can basically play in Green Bay as a sixth offensive lineman because they're going to need to help protect Jordan Love, and they've got two really good running backs with Jones and Dillard who are going to need to create space, and having that extra man in there who can really help is going to be a big help for them. He fulfills a need. He's the best tight end on the board, and I think I've said it a few times. It's a no-brainer. It's the move that they absolutely should make.
I don't agree with Michael Mayer as the tight end, especially tight end 1 in this class. He reminds me of Jason Witten, which sounds good until you realise that Jason Witten never really was that great. He just was always there, and
it's just not true.
He got a gold jacket, but I mean, it's like he's not that great as a tight end. You'd always have about 5 or 6 tight ends above him every year when you're ranking tight ends in the NFL.
Yes, but what Green Bay don't need is an orthodox tight end. They need a guy who can come in and block and always be there.
Do you want a blocker to get a tackle?
No, because they already have 5 men on the offensive line. They need a tight end who can come in and be versatile, block, and also be a receiving threat, which Mike Mayer is. He's the best cornerback. He's the best tight end in this class by some way. The only other guy who's near him is Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid is the receiving tight end.
Yes, exactly.
There's a better blocking tight end, and that's Darnell Washington. He is.
No.
Which one are you pitching, Jim?
I'm not pitch. Do I have to pitch any of them? I don't really want to pitch any of them at that point.
Don't pick either.
My need is a tight end.
God, yeah, but it seems so early for a tight end at this point.
Darnell Washington's 6'7", and he can't catch. So yes, he's a blocking tight end, but where's the upside? Mike Mayer is a massive tight end. He's 6'5", and he's as polished a tight end as you'll see.
Your other option is going with an edge rusher, but it sounds like we're reaching for that.
And I pitch you a cornerback then.
Green Bay aren't. Yeah, I mean Green Bay. Yeah, they like picking up cornerbacks. It could happen.
So Christian Gonzalez is the other kind of high draft pick player left on the board, out of Oregon, 6'1", 197 pounds. My comp from is Darius Slay. He has missed a pass breakup. He just knocks balls down all the time. So between him and Jair Alexander,
is he the best player left on the board?
I think so.
In terms of ranking, yes. My comp for him is Patrick Peterson. The only downside to him is he's had one good season with Oregon. Year before, he was okay.
Let's have a good one.
Yeah, but it was a phenomenal season, though. I'm not going to lie; it was a very good season.
Yeah, there are people comping him top 10 all over the place.
Yes, but there's also a lot of people not comping him top 10.
He plays angry. I like Christian Gonzalez. I think I prefer Devin Witherspoon. He's a bit more polished and he'll play the ball rather than the hands. But Christian Gonzalez will play the hands every time.
Finn, thoughts? Do we go with the need and the tight end?
Yeah, what you're breaking down is.
I think we've got.
Do we go best player on the board?
I think we do need a tight end, but I'm not sure how deep the tight end class is this draft.
Not that bad.
It's not that good bad either.
It's picking again at 45. There's going to be tight ends available at 45.
So Christian Gonzalez's average pick is 11.1. Mike Mayer's average pick is 19. So in terms of actual pick value, there's not a lot in it.
Not a lot between them.
No. I'm wondering if we go best player left in Christian, and then we try and pick up another tight end later on in the draft.
I would agree with that. I think you can, in this passing NFL, you can never have too many good cornerbacks. So, if the consensus best cornerback is still on the board, then it makes sense to pick him up here. And so Green Bay Packers pick number 15, taking Chris Gonzalez cornerback.
And the Commanders are pissed.
Yes, I know. That's another thing. I think
3 cornerbacks in a row straight off the board.
Yeah.
And I think there could possibly be a phone call for which, the Commanders go, "Would you like to trade out to the Packers?" And all they hear is nothing but laughter down the other end of the phone as the Packers say no. I think it's a win for the Packers. It really is, because it gives them Jair Alexander, who I think is one of the best corners in the NFL, and they give him Christian Gonzalez, who I think is the best cornerback in this draft. I genuinely do. I just don't think I don't think in the modern day football you need two outstanding corners. I think you can have one and a good guy. I don't think you necessarily need to spend a first round pick. That's my only thought process. And they need a tight end, like really, really, really need a tight end or two. So, but no, I understand the pick, and I think it's good value.
Cool.
It's definitely good value.
Onwards and upwards.
What are we giving the Commanders then?
Well, the Commanders, obviously, at this point in time, we still needed a quarterback. We could do with a cornerback, obviously. Could do with a safety, and maybe something on the interior offensive line as well. Now, let's just, for argument's sake, say that Maryland, being really close to Washington, some phone calls happen and something takes care of the quarterback situation for us. So let's look at the other positions. So cornerback, like I said, there's a run on them at the minute. Is there another one? Don't know. It feels a bit rich for a safety, but if there's a really good one in there, I'd take it. Otherwise, it's probably offensive line. And probably a guard over a tackle.
Well, there is still some more cornerbacks that can go. One of them plays at Maryland, and that's Deontay Banks. My comp from is L'Jarius Sneed. He has the speed to stick with any receiver out there. Doesn't quite track the ball enough to convert into picks, but he's very good at breaking up and recovering. So yeah, and he can be coached as well. He seems like a really good guy. Usually taken around this place in the draft as well. And obviously being a local guy, I think that this will make a lot of sense for them. So even though there've been three gone, I think he's still good.
We'd like a speedy cornerback in Washington as well. I mean,
he's rapid.
Yeah, probably the quickest.
Darrell Green was always the quickest player in the NFL back in the day. So yeah, that sounds like a good pitch.
I'm not arguing. That was the first person I thought to.
So another consensus pick then.
There we go.
Jeez,
Banks.
lock that in.
Lock it in quick. There's so many consensus picks.
It's the Steelers.
We've had
be
7.
arguing for days.
We're gonna be in consensus again, right, Dave? Unless you want to be a troll.
No, because
the team is Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you two go first.
Yeah, go on, guys.
So Pittsburgh, we've got down as looking for an offensive tackle, an edge rusher, and a cornerback.
So Jim and I have had conversations previously, and I've always been open in saying that the guy I think will go, and I said this a long time ago, and I've got the Steelers right for the past 2 years, despite being ridiculed and mocked from Jim.
I wished you weren't right.
But I am right. So the main part is Darnell Wright, who's out of Tennessee, is massively underrated. So he faced off last year against Will Anderson and not only won, but dominated against him. They also faced off in 2021, and he was fine then as well. He played against Georgia and lined up against Nolan Smith, who we will mention soon.
Mentioned him already.
We already mentioned him. And Jalen Carter, and did absolutely fine. As a true freshman, came in at right tackle in 2019, started every game there, moved to left tackle in 2021, and then moved back to right tackle at 2022. He can play both, and he's also fast enough to be able to play in the middle if you need him to. I personally, if let's say the Bears take him early because they need a tackle, wouldn't shock me at all, because I think he's that good. And if he's on the board, I think the Steelers take him. It's perfect for them. Yeah,
I'm sorry, guys. He's an absolute bully. He's one of those tackles that overpowers the rusher and then sits on them. So he will finish the move. He will take you out of the play completely. He will not stop until you're on the ground, and he is pancaked you into the ground. So it's awesome to watch. He reminds me of Tevin Jenkins, that kind of angry way of playing and finishing the play every single time.
My comp for him is Alejandro Villanueva. So literally, like
Yeah.
the Steelers. No, the only bad thing for him is he gets penalised every now and again for illegal man downfield, but that's just because he's so much stronger than the other guys.
Yeah.
The main benefit is the fact that you've got tape against him playing against NFL ready players. It's as simple as that. It's an utter no-brainer. If he's here, the Steelers should pick him. If they don't, expect Angry Jim the following day.
Yeah. I'll be quite happy with Darnell Wright being the number one pick for us. Yeah.
So that's another consensus pick then.
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, we had to
going to get a reaction video out of you this year. Come on.
not right now.
You will do when the Steelers draft Will Levis. That's what it will be.
Oh,
That'll be the reaction video.
I haven't got to worry about it this year. I haven't got to worry about it this year.
Maybe.
Okay.
Right.
18
Moving
is the
on then.
Lions. The second pick.
Next one's the Lions. Could this be trade bait possibly for the Lions?
I don't think so. I think what we said before is right. They've got so many picks, they're just going to be concentrating on what they're doing, and they're in win now. So why give anything away?
The reason I say it is because the New York Giants are desperate for a wide receiver. So the Giants are looking to jump up from 25, and I think we're hitting that zone where they can get to.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere around these next couple of 3 picks, I would not be surprised if the Giants tried to come up and get a receiver.
Trying to sneak him.
But if we're putting the Lions in at 18,
they took Tyree Wilson. You took at 6 at edge.
Yeah, Tyree Wilson we took at 6. He was the hang on. What have we got needs wise? We've got tackle, cornerback, right guard, cornerback. D-line, tight end. Tight end might be an interesting one here. Finn, thoughts?
I think, positions I can see there being potential trade, but like Dave said, I think we're in a clear mindset of this is our game plan. We need to stick at it. I think it might be quite nice just to add in a new dynamic to the offense. So tight end might be an interesting shout.
I would pitch you again then Mike Mayer, because at the moment on your depth chart at tight end you've got Brock Wright and Shane Zylstra.
Exactly.
So
triple touchdown Shane
away to
Zylstra.
the Vikings, didn't we? So
yeah. Or James Mitchell, any one of those 3. If tight end is a genuine need, I'm going to make the assumption you're not going to go wide receiver, because you've still got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Jones, plus suspended players to come back in as well.
Suspended players coming back.
And it's only 6 games. You'll get through that. It's a weak division. Exactly. I think you're going to want to add an extra string to your bow. TJ Hawkinson was traded in division as well, so you're going to want to neutralize that in division for not much money, which is ridiculous. If you can bring in a tight end who can help you in the block game, as we've said, really help your game on the ground and in the air, I think it's a big benefit. So Mike Mayer, I've already said everything I need to say about him, so that's my pick for the Lions.
The difference for me is I don't think the Lions need that much help in blocking. They've already got a fairly decent offensive line, so why wouldn't you go for the hybrid best receiving tight end, the guy who I've comped as Zach Ertz in Dalton Kincaid out of Utah? He's 6'4", 246 pounds. He lines up 50% of his time in the slot. He's got awesome hands as well. So he bridges that gap between tight end and wide receiver. And actually, I haven't had a wide receiver for a year and a half that you drafted in the first round. Take a guy that gives Jared Goff an option.
The funny thing is, of 3 of the places I looked, his comp was Jason Witten. You slacked off Jason Witten.
He's not Jason Witten though, because he's so much quicker.
I never said he was. I'm just saying 3 of the different places I've looked, they had Jason Witten as their comp. I'd go for Mike Mayer as the overall player. He for me he's a Mark Andrews who can get downfield as well.
He's not Mark Andrews. Like I said, he's old man Jason Witten, as far as I can see.
If we were to flip this away from tight end and look at best player available, have we got anyone that's really dropping down the board now that we're sitting there going, how have they not gone yet?
I'm going to make the assumption you're not going to want another pass rusher. I'm not going to want another
because Nolan Smith would be a guy that would typically be going around this stage, but you've already got Agent Hutchinson and you've taken
the thing is though
Tyree Wilson.
The thing is, modern football, the Eagles have multiple defensive lines that they can trade in. Maybe you go for another pass rusher. Nolan Smith is not a 3-down pass rusher. So maybe you bring him in and, he's a specialist third down and, first to create room. So, I mean, if you're going best player on the board, take Nolan Smith.
There is a defensive tackle in Brian Brzee that Dave won't talk about because he goes to Clemson. But he is a kind of a Chris Jones type. He played really well. 6'5", 298 pounds. He had a shortened season in 2020. He was injured in 2021. But he was the #1 college recruit in his class. He's not a run-of-the-mill 300-pounder. He's really athletic for what he is. So he's a guy that is kind of like, if you can't get Jalen Carter, he's the next guy up that can cause a lot of problems on the interior. And if you didn't want to take Jalen Carter because of the concerns, you haven't got that.
Lucas Van Ness. I'd rather take Lucas Van Ness because he can run inside and outside.
Again,
and
he's more of an edge rusher than
prone.
He's close to an edge rusher. You're playing 4-3 in Detroit.
Still play him inside.
I'm saying Brian Brzee is more kind of built for that position.
Finn, what are you thinking around this?
I'd still take Mike Meyer if I'm honest.
I'm enjoying this back
Adds
and
another
forth.
string to your
bow. Sprinkle the dust there, and they'll argue for that.
I've given you a better receiving tight end, and I've given you a
too many
defensive
consensuses recently, so it's nice to see a bit of spice again. I'm thinking tight end is, particularly with the lack of depth. I would say tight end is more of a position of need. Out of the two that were mentioned, probably leaning towards maybe Jim's. Who did you put forward again, Jim?
Dalton Kincaid, who's basically Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I'm feeling someone that can.
He's a pure receiver who lines up in the slot rather than a guy who can play full offense. No, because Waller's better. He's Darren Waller whilst on drugs.
Oh, don't be silly. Don't be silly, Dave. I'm not going to besmirch your picks. Don't besmirch mine.
I think he's
the best receiving tight end in this class.
He's the best tight end who's not good enough to be a wide receiver, essentially.
Seymour slagging off doesn't work in your favour.
I think, Finn, that you're going down the right path. I think the Lions will look at this and go, we need a receiving tight end. I think they look at it and go, we have got a receiver that's been suspended for 6 games, so a little bit of extra help on the outside is not going to hurt. My offensive line is pretty good, so we've already proven we can protect Goff long enough for him to get the ball out. So yeah, I agree. I think the Detroit Lions will pick Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, at number 18.
There we go.
Madness.
See that? It's not madness at all.
It is madness.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a really good pick.
Average pick position.
With a player
average pick position, let me just say, 27. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I would have picked him later as well, but they wanted a tight end, they wanted a receiving tight end, so I gave him the best one. That's how it works.
18.
That's
18.
rubbish.
It's not that high.
Dave, calm down. I thought you were winning this battle with me, Dave. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19.
Oh, God.
The Yucks. The Yucks.
Tampa Bay. This is where we're looking. Well, let's be honest, they could probably still do with a quarterback. An edge rusher, an offensive tackle, or a cornerback. There's 4 positions here. I think we probably narrow it down to the edge rusher if he's still on the board, which makes sense. I don't know if you lot are all going to agree with me or not, but
well, that's fine. I pitched Nolan Smith already as kind of Hassan Reddick.
That's what I'm saying. I think if Nolan Smith is still there when the Bucks are picking at 19, I think they'd probably snap him up.
Unless, Dave, you've got a dissenting opinion on
that. For me, if it's me, I would possibly. The only other alternative would be Miles Murphy. Now, Miles Murphy's out of Clemson, so obviously, I have opinions on Clemson. He is as good, if not better, than Nolan Smith. I think he's a true edge rusher. My comp to him is Trayvon Walker, 6'5", big guy. Some people have him some of the networks have him going up to as high as 13. Some have him drafting down as 23. It's about what you like. Does he fit their scheme? no one knows, because I'm not sure Tampa Bay know what their scheme is. They kind of rush from inside and out. They kind of do a bit of everything and a bit of nothing all at the same time. I think what this will probably go down to is when they met the players, the one that they liked more. And that's probably what it's going to be. Who do they feel is the guy? Now, you guys obviously can't answer that. And Jim's already drafted Nolan Smith. I'm not going to argue with that. It's just an option. It's an alternate option. So in terms of ranking, to give you an idea, of the top 20, Miles Murphy's ranked at 17, Nolan Smith ranked at 17.3. I mean, they are basically in terms of value the same. So do you prefer the name Miles or do you prefer the name Nolan? Because that's what we've got to go off. It's going to be down to when they met the player and they sat there and they looked him in the eye and said, who do you which guy do we like more?
I think we should go with the player that also shares a name with Dave's favourite band. So Nolan Smith it is.
Nolan's? It's random. I don't even know Nolan's song.
Right.
Everyone knows my favourite band.
I'm handing this next one over to you, number 20.
Yeah. Back to my boys. I think we made a good first pick at number 5. So I think if anything we could do maybe some more sort of protection on the O-line. Little bit of maybe wide receiver we could do with. Got some depth issues on there, particularly sort of towards the back end of last season when we had a couple of injuries. So I would argue sort of a wide receiver to come in from more of a depth perspective, or just showing up that O-line and giving Geno some more protection.
I think your offensive line's absolutely fine. I think it's all right. I think you're pitched inside with your guards. I think you're fairly settled with your 2 tackles that you picked up last year. I think in terms of receiver, I've already mentioned Quentin Johnson. He's essentially Mike Williams. There's a lot of value to be had picking him up here, and he's the guy who I said struggled in tight coverage, but will transition well to the pros and fast as a firework. Will play out as quick in the slot as he will outside as well. I think it's a really good value pick for you, especially as it's a place of need.
I don't think it is a place of need when you've got DK Metcalf though, because they're.
Oh, it never hurts to have 2 or 3, and let's be honest, Lockett's kind of.
I mean, if you can bring in Quentin Johnson to learn from Tyler Lockett, I think you're laughing, because you've got a couple of years there to learn how to play different routes and play inside and find space.
Yeah, I would. If I was going to pitch you a wide receiver, I would be pitching you Zay Flowers out of Boston College as a guy that moves like a fly. He just changes direction without seeming to slow down at all. And he could be your next Tyler Lockett. So you've got DK Metcalf already there. But if you had Zay Flowers as well, he's just one of the most shifty guys. He is 5'9", 182 pounds. And he's just a really clever guy as well. He knows what he's doing. And he will come back to the receiver as well if the play's breaking down. I really love Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be an amazing player for whoever he goes to. And I think he would fit in with Seattle.
Do you think he's similar to comparably a Lockett?
No, my comp to him is Jerry Jeudy, because I think it's his ability to
a lot.
College Jeudy. No, he doesn't drop the ball.
No, college Jerry Jeudy, yeah.
Because okay.
I think Jeudy was amazing.
It's the fact that college Jerry Jeudy had a quarterback. The pro one didn't. It's his ability to run routes is really good. His ideal landing spot is probably the Chiefs. So if Seattle do take him, I'll be absolutely ecstatic, because it means the Chiefs aren't getting hold of him. But there's a reason he's being marked down in, the 30th position, because there's other players against him. Quentin Johnson in some positions is going as high as 10.
Well, I think that's crazy, because he drops basically half his balls.
No, that's not true, Jim.
He drops a lot of balls.
You always say, don't throw shade on my players, and you're going, he drops 50% of his balls. I mean, what you're saying is his drop percentage is almost as high as Anthony Richardson's completion percentage. That's what you're saying, basically.
Not when it's adjusted. No.
I think Quentin Johnson is a big receiver who is 6'4", is a massive X receiver who will win possession. I think his comp of Mike, well, it's basically, what do you want, Mike Williams, or do you want Jerry Jeudy? That's kind of your option that you want.
I was wrong. 5 to 9 yard targets. Quentin Johnson completed 56% of his passes. So you're right. I was wrong there. Sorry.
That's still higher than Anthony Richardson's completion
It's not.
percentage. I know
Not when it's
it's
adjusted.
0.3 lower.
Oh, he got over 60% when it was adjusted for his terrible receiving core. Carry on. So,
Okay.
So Finn, what do you fancy?
I'm liking Jim's. I'm liking the analogy of like a fly.
Oh,
I
you
think
see, you've been
Get
sucked in by
swatted.
Jim just comping it to a Seattle player.
what,
I think I
a
have this
fly?
because
Was Jeff Goldblum up in Seattle? Wasn't
I think we've got, you can, one option in DK is he's just a machine and can just knock anyone down. He's rapid as well. And then you can have someone on the other side that's going to be more agile and run different routes and keep the secondaries on skates essentially. So that's why I'm leaning towards Jim's pitch.
Zay Flowers. It's up to you. I
Say
mean,
Flowers it is then.
If he
Go
goes
on.
to Seattle, I'll be more than happy.
I'll let you go for it.
It means he's not going to Kansas, but
I
I still
personally-
think it's a rich. I think it's a rich pick.
I personally would go for Johnson. I think the Mike Williams comp is a better comp, and if you've got two the size of DK Metcalf, then in that division, that's bruising. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to be sending people to the hospital. So, but that's just my preference. But as you are the Seahawk fan, and it's your first draft, we'll let you have that pick. So Zay Flowers.
and so let's have a quick recap then of 11 to 20. So at 11, we took Broderick Jones. Actually, we took Jackson Smith and Jigba because there was a trade between the Texans and the Titans. Just remember that.
Mhm.
So 12, we would have taken Broderick Jones with the Titans. At 13, we had the start of the cornerback run. Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State to the Jets. Then Devin Witherspoon from Illinois to the Patriots. Christian Gonzalez goes next from Oregon to the Packers. Deontay Banks from Maryland stays in Maryland to the Commanders. Darnell Wright, the angry man from Tennessee, goes to the Steelers. Dalton Kincaid, the best receiving tight end, goes to the Lions with their second pick. And Nolan Smith, the edge rusher, then goes from Georgia to Tampa Bay. And Zay Flowers, the second wide receiver off the board, goes to the Seahawks with their second pick. So that is 11 to 20. Okay, so 10 picks left, and we're starting at pick 21, which is the Los Angeles Chargers. So, what do the Chargers need, apart from some fans?
Probably a stadium
And a decent owner. Yeah, stadium and a decent owner.
I think they need quite a lot.
Player-wise, look, the whole Austin Eckler situation is still a little bit up in the air. So they might need a running back here. We've also got down that they could look at an edge rusher or someone along the defensive line. And the other area we looked at was wide receiver. They seem to get a lot of injuries there. So a bit of depth probably wouldn't hurt, to be honest. So I think, though, probably looking at it, Finn, feel free to shout up if you disagree. I'm probably going to look at an edge rusher here, though, or someone on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm
I think the
gonna
fact
leave-
that it's all up in the air with Eckler is, if that could be an area of concern if he leaves, but as of now, I think the edge rush is the way to go, way to play.
Yeah, there's value later on in later rounds on getting running backs.
Yeah.
If I will leave this one a little bit open in my suggestion. So I've already pitched you a wide receiver who's like Mike Williams, and guess who Mike Williams plays for? And if you're looking for pass rush, I can pitch you two players. One who's my comp is Trayvon Walker, which is Miles Murphy, and one where my comp is Trey Hendrickson, which is Luke Van Ness. Luke Van Ness is not a guy I think we've discussed so far. So he's more of a defensive line stroke edge player, and will play slightly more inside, but his pass rush is power pass rush is his main strength. And as I say, will probably benefit a 3-4 more than a 4-3. My choice overall would probably be Miles Murphy. He's the Clemson edge who is basically, he's benefited from not being a top 10 pick because he's in the same draft class as Will Anderson, and I think it's and also with Wilson dropping going in top 10 as well. I think it's a big benefit to him because you're getting value. Within previous years, he would have been much closer to a top 10 pick. So Miles Murphy is probably my pick for who the Chargers can get or should get.
Okay, I'm going to pitch someone else on the defensive line that we haven't mentioned yet, but the Chargers love speed on their defense. Just speed, speed, speed. And the quickest defensive line guy that I can think of is Kalijah Cansey from Pittsburgh. He looks tiny for a defensive tackle, but it just
he is tiny for a defensive tackle. He's 6 foot.
Yeah, 6'1".
6 foot.
But 6'1". He has elite speed. He cuts. He's got the acceleration. He just gets through to the quarterback, and he is it's the perfect place for them. They've got Khalil Mack on the weak side, and I think you just need someone else there with some depth. There's no one else currently on the depth chart for them. Kalijah Cansey is one of those guys that is being picked up around this range, and of all the teams, I think this is like the perfect place for him to go because they love speed on the defense.
They do.
He is that guy.
And in college, especially playing at Pittsburgh because they play in a rubbish division, he can get to a quarterback because he's not playing up against NFL ready guys week in, week out. How would he have got on?
Here we go.
Going up in the SEC. Well, there's a reason he doesn't play in the SEC, and there's a reason he probably won't go in the first round of the draft. I just think he's too small, and that's going to put a lot of guys off.
But not everyone, and he is good enough to get through.
He's fast enough to get through.
He's not good enough to get through. And not every SEC team is amazing either. There are reasons why players don't all play in the SEC. It's not just footballing reasons why they don't go to certain colleges. So you can't discount him for that. So
no.
Still a decent school pick.
I'm not discounting it. I'm not discounting him. Yes, it's a decent school, as in there.
I think Aaron Donald went there.
Yes, absolutely.
That all right?
Absolutely. But I mean, every college has had decent players come years and years ago, so we can all quote those.
Yeah.
The fact is, he's playing in a division that's not as good, and his main attribute will show up better against teams who are not as good. That's my point in saying this. So it's you either get a guy whose comp is Trayvon Walker, or a guy who's really fast. Now,
my comp is Ed Oliver to Kalijah Cansey.
I mean, really? Mine's Jonathan Allen, and that was at a push.
My problem.
I did that was at a grimace on my face.
Fine, you can comp whoever you like. The problem I've got with Lucas Van Ness is he just doesn't have any bend. He's just a power rusher. He's an ultimate power rusher.
It's true.
That's why I get around someone.
It's true. That's why I'm recommending Miles Murphy, not Luke Van Ness.
Well, I'm just saying. We're going to talk about Lucas Van Ness again, I think, because I don't think we're taking him here. But yeah. Again,
Miles Murphy's a very good player, despite being at Clemson. You're either picking the guy who's what's Elijah Klein? What's he, 5'6", or Miles Murphy who's 6'5"?
6'1".
He's 6 foot. He's not 6'1".
Why are you doing this? I told you 6'1".
He plays a small 6'1". Then he's not a big guy.
All right.
Small 6'1".
All right, and you play a lumbering 6'5". Then you're Miles Murphy. There we go.
Okay, so you got to go 6'1" and 280, or go 6'5" and 260.
Yeah, but where are they playing on the line?
Odd.
Both edge.
Both edge.
No, sorry. Kalijah Cansey plays.
Technically plays on the inside of a 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inside left, I believe. No, inside right.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind it's the Chargers, and I automatically want to give them the worst player available.
Oh, I've got loads of those.
That's a new argument, I think, in that case.
These are all good players.
I'm leaning towards Miles Murphy. I think having that extra security is just going to come in, knows his job, and do essentially what he's asked. He's of the height that's needed. Obviously, it can't all come down to height, but I think that to me seems like a sensible decision.
You see, it's interesting because I'm leaning towards Clancy because of the fact that the Chargers love speed on their defense. I think there's a fit there that you probably just don't get everywhere else. But I'm going to listen to my coach. I'm not a GM that I'm not, Jim Irsay. I'm not just going to go off on a tangent. So my coach wants Miles Murphy. We'll go with Miles Murphy.
So just for the record, Miles Murphy went to college at Clemson and now plays for the Chargers. you're going to hear nothing but me absolutely tearing on him for years.
Congratulations on drafting him to the Chargers. There we go.
There you go.
Right. Moving on. Pick 22 is the Baltimore. Oh, hang on. Woo, woo, woo. Siren.
Oh, we got the
siren.
trade. I've
The
missed
jingle.
this bit.
There's a
There's
trade
bell
jingle.
there. Where's the
We
bell?
have a trade jingle. The New York Giants have decided to jump up from pick 25 to the Ravens pick 22. What is it, and what is the player that the Giants could possibly want at this point?
Only
They're in desperate need of a wide receiver, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And the fact that Quinton Johnson's still on the board is making them all twitchy and nervous. So I think at this point, the Giants will jump up. They will pick up the Mike Williams compared Quinton Johnson, and will be very happy that they actually have someone in their receiving corps that can catch a touchdown this season. Any objections to that trade?
No.
not from
No.
the coach.
I mean, the
Correct.
website I'm using has objections to everything I do now, but finding every
They
trade
won't even let
option.
you trade the Giants and the Ravens. Come
No.
on.
The only other player that could possibly step in is Jordan Addison, who, as a talent, I think is as good as Johnson, but a very different player. So Jordan Addison's more of a Devontae Smith. So he used to play for Pittsburgh, transferred to USC. He's very much a route runner rather than sort of an X receiver. But caught 159 tackles in 2 seasons. 159 passes in 2 seasons, rather. He's one of those guys who always finds a way to make space, but it's in the center of the field. So if you want a guy who's going to play in the center, pick Addison. If you want an X receiver who plays on the outside, pick Johnson.
We're going to go for Johnson because we.
I think that makes
like
Johnston rather. I think it makes
receiver
sense. Makes
for
sense.
Dan Jones. We've got to give him something to be able to throw at, seeing as we're paying him $40 million a year. So,
have they picked up any wide receivers in free agency? Do we know?
not off the top of my
Can't
head.
remember seeing anything.
Thanks, Dave, for putting us on this one.
I'm just checking now while I'm looking. Actually, Paris Campbell.
So no.
There we go.
Well, forget this then.
Darren Waller, Paris Campbell, Isaiah Hodgins. No, not
Darius
really.
Slayton.
Yeah, they definitely need a nice wide receiver in there.
Someone else.
So that trade, I might just make a trade work. So I can actually show you on the board that the Giants are now at 22nd and the Ravens are at 25.
There we go.
Are we taking Quentin Johnson then?
We are taking
Yes. Yeah.
Quinton Johnson. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say, just for the record, it is Johnston. I think it was me
Johnston,
that
yeah.
set the precedent of saying Johnson. Everyone said Johnson.
I don't know. We don't know the players. We're just going off
Is
what
it
you
down to you,
say.
boys?
So-
It's very, very much my fault for saying Johnson. It is Johnston, but I think he's a good player. I think he'll do well because he'll play well off script. I think he'll do well possibly in New York.
Problem I've got with Jordan Addison, who we mentioned, is that he was in Pittsburgh and had a great couple of seasons, especially the last one with Kenny Pickett. And then he went to USC and played with Caleb Williams, who is going to be the number 1 pick next year. So it's like, it's been pretty easy for you, mate. You had a very easy time of it. But at the same time,
not really. He spent 2 years playing with Kenny Pickett, so you know.
But I was going to say, Steve Smith, who I do respect very greatly as a wide receiver, said that he rates Jordan Addison, so I'm willing to go with that. So
I think he's a good player. I think he's just one of those guys who makes plays in all scenarios. So it's like Jerry Jeudy's his sheet showed you it was all about route running and creating space through movement, whereas Jordan Addison's is everything. It's creating separation through breaking, through changing position, through acceleration through the route. It's everything. So I think he's a really good wide receiver.
Pick 23, the Minnesota Vikings. Oh dear, a team that needs draft picks desperately. They've only got 5, and no one's picking up the phone, are they?
I don't think so. I can't see anyone that would be picking up the phone. Maybe the Rams think about picking up the phone and getting themselves into the first round, but
maybe the Chiefs move up at this point.
Chiefs
because they want a wide receiver or someone. They've got so much draft capital. It's like 11 picks or something. They've got 11, 12 picks. They could quite easily move up from 31 and take something from the if they don't believe their player's going to be there at 31 now. I don't know. What do you
So
reckon?
Vikings wise, we've got them down as needing probably cornerback, receiver, linebacker, maybe an edge rusher
I think we said edge as well, didn't we?
over a linebacker. Yeah. Chiefs, we've got down for wide receiver, offensive tackle, and edge rusher. I don't think it's whether or not the Vikings will pick up the phone knowing that receivers are starting to come off the board. So who've we already had? We've already had Johnston go. We've had Flowers go.
And Jackson
I
Smith
mean,
and Jigba.
let's not forget they've still got Justin Jefferson. They've got KJ Osborne, who they like. They've got rid of
Yeah,
Adam Thielen, but they've still got Jalen Rager,
yeah.
who they bought in not too long ago. So they've got pieces already. I think they
So
can pick up a second or third round. It's fine. I think they're okay with wide
yeah,
receiver.
I see no
Cornerback, they
reason why the
suck.
Chiefs wouldn't want to jump up here. If there
Chiefs
is a
want to, yeah,
receiver
Chiefs
there that
want
they like,
to.
I can certainly see a world in which the Chiefs jump up.
Okay,
Do we want to make that call?
If
we
the
can make
Chiefs
that.
jump up, they
Should we
jump
make
up
the
for
trade?
Jordan Addison.
Well, that's
Or
what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
I feel like we're all leaning towards a trade bell is going off.
Yeah, let's try. I'm just gonna. Oh, they accepted the trade offer I put in. That's pretty nice. Okay, so we've now switched them around. So the Chiefs are now on the clock, and yeah, as I'm trying to do three things at once, I think you're probably right.
I can offer another player if you'd want to. I think
Okay.
Addison is my pick. The other player that I pick is Josh Downs. My comp for him is Cole Beasley. And the fact is, his role at North Carolina was get off script and find space. You don't have a route, go and find space. And for a long time, that has been Travis Kelce's routine. He's not going to be doing that forever. So let's be honest, Travis Kelce's not really a tight end. He's as much a tight end as I am a gymnast. And a brilliant one at that. But I think Josh Downs can come in and really help the Chiefs with that almost air raid sweep along the front line. And it's a position that Patrick Mahomes has always having that, front sweep in the empty linebacker position. So I think Josh Downs fits it perfectly. But saying that, Jordan Addison is the more talented wide receiver. So I'm kind of pitching both and breaking rules, but hey, I'm rogue. What can I say?
Yeah, Jordan Addison won the Biletnikoff in 2021. He is the better player, I guess, than
yes.
I think that Josh Downs, although a very good receiver, is a day two guy. And there's other players like Marvin Mims that we can talk about. But
early day two, yes.
if we've moved up for a wide receiver, if that's what we're doing, then I think Jordan Addison has to be the pick at this point. I don't think we can really mess
Jordan
about.
Addison is the better player. You're absolutely right. Josh Downs is a player who can come in, fit a scheme, and have possibly more of an impact. So it's whether you go on, and I'm pitching both these players. I'm happy with either. Just for the record, I think this is a consensus pick. But do you want pure talent of what someone has shown you, or do you want what is going to fit your scheme better?
I quite like the fact that Josh Downs is that sort of off script player, that does fit what the Chiefs likes to do with Kelce being off script. Mahomes he's unbelievable on the fly. So you have someone that can be off script. There's no doubt that Mahomes will be able to find him, and you can't teach a defense to play against off script because there's nothing in the playbook to stop it. But whether the move up to
they wouldn't be moving up to go and get Josh Downs.
No.
That's what's sort of holding me back.
That Chiefs receiver core, it's there is no real leader in it. It's all very by committee, etc., etc. I think it would make sense for them to go up and get Addison at this point and just pick up that number one receiver for them and plug him in for the next 5 years.
Done.
Which is really annoying because he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
It's really annoying, but it is what it is. So yeah, Chiefs going up to 23. with the Vikings picking up Jordan Addison.
24 is the Jags. The Jags. Not used to picking
Jags.
so low. Obviously, they're used to picking in the top 10, but they're all the way down at 24. What positions should we be looking at then, chaps?
Finn, do you want
Yeah.
to take this one?
So ones we've got offensive tackle, corner in there, running back, potentially even a tight end as well, just to keep quite heavy on the offense side of things. Defense mainly just sort of that corner. But I'd probably say offensive tackle leading the way. And then sort of maybe then go corner or tight end. I'd put running back towards sort of the back end of the priority list.
Yeah, they've got Trevor Etienne, haven't they? Running back.
I don't think they need a tackle because they still love Fatukasi, who they spent a lot of money getting. And I think they're still a big fan of him. So I think with the 3-4 that they play, they'd probably stick with the defensive tackles they've got. I think they just bought in they've still re-signed Adam Gotsis as well, who I think the Broncos drafted. So I think they're probably good at tackle.
Cornerback. Anything?
Cornerback's a funny one because there's not real value here, but there's value from a player, Brian Branch. Now, Branch is essentially a safety. However, he'll play at free safety as well as corner. He's done down at Alabama, and he's a leader in the locker room at Alabama, which is a big plus, being a leader in a Nick Saban dressing room. But he'll play cornerback, he'll play free safety, strong safety, and he'll come in and play effectively a nickel as well. So when you're drafting him, you're effectively picking up 2 defensive backs. He's super clever as well. So a lot of teams he visited would have fallen in love with him. And I think that will probably boost his draft grade. You are picking him as a safety. There's no doubt about that. He is a free safety. However, with the free safety that you've got currently on the depth chart, I'm looking, and it's Andre Cisco.
Yep.
I'm not overly familiar with his work, but if you're asking me if I'll take a locker room leader at Alabama over some dude I'm not familiar with, I'd probably go with the guy from Bama.
Cisco's been there for a while.
Brian Branch. Yeah, I'd go for Brian Branch. I think you're getting an awful lot from him, basically.
He's got very similar traits to Minka Fitzpatrick, both Alabama safety.
Do you know what? My comp for him was CJ Gardner-Johnson, but you're probably right. He's more of a Minka Fitzpatrick than he is I mean, either way, he's brilliant. I love him. He's great. But the fact he's listed as a safety is probably his biggest problem.
He is the sensible pick right now, guys. I'm not going to lie. I was going to pick him if they didn't.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. If I'm going to throw in, because we've still got Mike Meyer available.
Yep.
So if you're in this position with the Jags, are you looking at Mike Meyer or are you looking at Brian Branch?
Because I've got Evan Ingram, I'm going Brian Branch. That's the only reason, because I'm going Evan. And next year, Evan Ingram's finishes his franchise tag or whatever. He basically signed a franchise tag this year. So that finishes. It's going to cost me less money to go and get a good tight end than it is to go and get a corner stroke safety. It's going to cost me less money in free agency to do that. So I'd probably still side with Brian Branch.
Yeah, I could put someone else in, but he's the only safety you could potentially draft in round 1. So there's a drop off.
Oh, the drop off is enormous.
So you kind of have to get him now. You can still get a tight end later. As much as I'd want to pitch someone else, but
Finn?
Yeah, sorry, we got more consensus.
No, I think Branch is the sensible pick. I'm happy to go with that.
There you go.
Excellent.
But Brian Branch will be a guy we're talking about in 10 years. He'll still be in the league. He's that good.
So,
right.
The Baltimore
25,
Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens.
They moved down, so they've now got more than 5 picks, but they don't pick again until the 3rd round. So whatever they do now has got to matter. So what do they need?
So Baltimore Ravens, wow, they need a quarterback.
Yeah.
Or at least we in this podcast believe they need a quarterback anyway. They could probably do with some edge help, and they'll probably go defense, if I'm honest. They'll probably go cornerback or edge. Maybe linebacker, possibly, but I think it's a defensive pick for them.
Okay. There's a couple of players we've already mentioned. Obviously, Lucas Van Ness at edge, Brian Brizzy at defensive tackle from Clemson, and Elijah Cansey from Pitt are all players that potentially, I'm not sure Cansey really fits their remit for a defensive tackle. But there is Lucas Van Ness and there is Brian Brizzy that we've already mentioned.
What have we got corner-wise left?
So the best corner we've got left, in my opinion, is Cam Smith out of South Carolina.
Yep.
So my comp for him is Casey Hayward. The problem is he more frequently than not, he tends to target the ball than the man. That's the main issue with him. But I'm not being funny. You can teach that. That's not the most difficult.
I prefer they play the ball
over the last few years, and you think, well, it's just not possible. But
in terms of protecting the man from a slot perspective, you're probably more wanting to be playing the man than the ball, rather than playing outside. You play the ball. But the thing is, he probably looking on, as I mentioned, I've got loads and loads of different networks who've got it, and some have him going as high as 16 to Washington, and some have him going as low as 50. I don't think any player divides opinion as much, but I like him. I think he's really good. I just think he's a bit. He has traits which can be coached out.
Yeah.
I mean, my confidence was Marcus Peters, which kind of explains why he's such a divide, because you either love Marcus Peters or you hate him, because he'll go for it and he'll either get it or he'll miss it. But
or Diggs in what's it called, Dallas as well.
Move on Diggs.
But when he's on form, he'll be brilliant. But every now and again, he'll let someone go, and it'll be a busted zone. It'll be 25 yards on him, and people go, "Oh, he's rubbish." He's just a guy you need to coach. That's all. And Baltimore love Peters. They had him for how long? In fact, they didn't have him for that long. They traded for him, didn't they?
Yeah.
So I think Cam Smith's a decent show.
Best player left on our board currently.
Best player I've got is Luke.
We've got
Luke
a lot
Van
of players
Ness.
we've talked about that we haven't picked up yet.
Yeah, Luke Van Ness or Chauncey, I think, but their defensive line.
Yeah, Lucas Van Ness is the one on top of this list here, but there's also Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, another edge player, and Brian
Manuel Forbes. Manuel Forbes as a corner as well.
Yeah, I don't rate Forbes.
He's a bit young. That's his big problem.
He's a freshman. He's got no weight to him at all. He does UNICEF adverts in the off season.
His listed weight is 166.
Yeah. He does UNICEF. Does UNICEF adverts in the off season, man. He's got no weight to him at all.
As like
he's
toe.
No, he's not the smallest guy in the draft though. There's a guy whose nickname is Tank, and he's 165.
Of course he is.
Yeah, but he's a receiver.
Like
I know.
50,
I know. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm just purely looking at weights.
Yeah, Lucas Van Ness is like Greg Rousseau is my comp. It's just that power rusher.
I think it feels like a sensible pick at that point.
I think so. If his best man on the board,
my comp for him's Trey Hendrickson. And getting a Trey Hendrickson type player here is good value.
Yeah,
they've moved down for him as well. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that makes sense to me. So Luke Van Ness
sold.
He feels like a Chargers player, Luke Van Ness. In all honesty,
Chargers aren't getting him.
No, I know. I understand exactly why. And the Chargers have already pitched him for a guy I know I'm going to hate, Miles Murphy. So,
so them Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Right, who's the sexiest player on the board? I mean, Mike Meyer, right?
That one.
Jason Witten. Jason Witten, Mark II, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it could be.
Got rid of Dalton Schultz.
From what we've got listed here, we really want someone on the defensive line, the interior of the defensive line, a nice big fat nose tackle, or a wide receiver. I think more than anything.
I'm going to go off script if that's okay.
Yeah, try it. This is the part of the draft to do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to go off script, but there's method to my madness, because as soon as I've had this guy in my main frame, it's a little bit of a high draft for him, but this is where that happens. You always get a guy where you go, oh, didn't expect him to go in the first round. So I'm picking Iowa's Jack Campbell. Okay, his comp for me is I haven't written it down. It's the who's the linebacker they've got who's got a bad neck?
Leighton
Van
Vander
der
Esch.
Van der Esch.
Yeah, Leighton Vander Esch. He's my comp. They just re-signed Leighton Vander Esch, whose career is,
On the wane.
he's got a very bad neck, and they've just signed him for another year. And if they can pick up his replacement, who can potentially be as good as him, then I think that's absolutely fine. He is an NFL player. He looks like an NFL player. He's 250, 6'5", just a reliable, good, solid linebacker who will be good in pass rush, good in protection. He's kind of the guy who's going to be covering Micah Parsons' arse. And if you can bring in, this is the Cowboys. It's a sensible pick. This isn't what they should do. But Jack Campbell feels like the right pick for Dallas.
They call him Captain Jack Campbell, and he looks like a linebacker from the 70s. He's not especially.
Good.
He doesn't look like he's very fast, though. He's very good at run defense, but he can't blitz. He cannot get to the quarterback.
No. But you don't need him to. You need him to be able to press, which he'll be good at. He'll be good at stopping the run. He'll be good in coverage. He is a Dallas player, and he reminds me so much of Leighton Vander Esch, because Vander Esch is not a guy who's going to get to the quarterback either.
Yeah, he's typically a round 2 guy, Jack Campbell. Yes.
Yeah, but we see as many round 2 guys go in at the end of round 1 as we do round 1 guys.
Yeah, I just think that there are other guys that we've already mentioned, like Brian Brzee, a defensive tackle from Clemson, who this will be a good spot for him. Like you said, you wanted a big nose guy. Alternatively, you could go for Muzzy Smith. We've not even mentioned yet, out of Michigan. He's 6'3", 335 pounds. He's an elite run defender. He sheds blocks. He looks like a Venus flytrap to me. He's just got these massive arms, just goes whoop, and just wraps you up. So I really like him as well. He's getting a lot of draft buzz.
My comp to him was Dontari Poe or Damon Harrison, neither of which had particularly long NFL
I thought Dalvin
careers.
Tomlinson. I was looking.
No. Sorry to make that noise.
No, I said no about yours. So
yeah, it's just.
Ben, I don't know about you, but I think we should be drafting a player of need as opposed to a player that might be a Cowboys-ish player.
I mean, as Jim said, his nickname is Captain Jack, and he's fulfilling a need. It's just not. I just don't necessarily think it's a need right now. It will be because, I
think it's whether it's the long term.
Yeah, he is the long term starter for the Cowboys for the next 10 years.
But if I can get a nice big run stuffing defensive tackle in this spot, that Captain Jack might still be there in the second round. What have the Cowboys got second round pick wise?
58. They're picking 58, and then they're picking 90 in the third.
Yeah, he won't be there at 58. They'll need to move up for him.
There are other linebackers.
Might be easier to move up in the second round to get him, though.
His average landing spot, so just for records, his average landing spot we're looking at is 45 for Jack Campbell. Mazzy Smith's average landing spot is 38.
There was another one Jim mentioned.
Brian Brzee.
Brian Brzee. Brian Brzee 26. He's a first round player.
So, in theory, I think we go with Brian Brzee.
He's not the big run stopper that you want. The big run stopper you want is Mazzy Smith. He's the big wrecking ball in the middle, if that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
He's almost 300 pounds, Brian Brzee.
Yeah, I mean, you can soon stick another 20 pounds on him. That's not
difficult. Yeah.
It's whether or not he can play on it. That's the problem.
That's true. Finn, thoughts?
I'm thinking, I think we go for the big run stopper.
Michigan boy.
You want the Venus flytrap, Mazzy Smith.
Venus flytrap.
I sold him better. There we go. All right.
if you want the run stopper and you want the guy who's going to be that in the middle, then Mazzy Smith's the right choice. I'll be honest. I don't see Brian Brzee I just don't see him as a Cowboy. It just doesn't fit the Cow. It doesn't work. It's like going to be seeing Aaron Rodgers in a Jets jersey last year. It's just not going to feel right whenever you see it.
Cool. There we go then. Mazzy's the man.
There he is.
5 to go. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock.
Jesus.
Where do you start?
Where do you want us to start?
Safety.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, Who
What?
knows? I mean, the Bills are a tricky one because in theory you could go offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, and safety. But I think my if I was the Buffalo Bills, I'd probably look at something on the defensive line or probably a linebacker, if I'm honest.
I think defensive line, they've still got Greg Rousseau, Jordan Phillips, and Ed Oliver. So I think they're your
Yep.
starters. And I don't think you
Daquan Jones
waste
as well.
Daquan Jones. Yeah, I don't think you waste a first-round pick on a guy who's going to be coming in rotation. I'm going to go slightly off script again because it's the end of the first draft and I like to. But who's the slot receiver they've signed twice, maybe even 3 times? Cole Beasley. Who is Cole Beasley? Josh Downs. Everything I've already said about him. He is literally he's the guy who I comped for the suggested for the Chiefs. Find space, give you off script play, and you know, I think he
don't
fits.
hate the idea.
No, I think he fits Buffalo perfectly, and he is Cole Beasley, and they've signed Cole Beasley so many times. At the moment, their slot receiver is Khalil Shakir.
Shakir. I would like to throw in my wild card pick for this entire round, and that is a running back. I know what the Bills think about running back, so I've picked you basically a wide receiver, a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. He's 5'9", 199 pounds. He did a 4.36 40-yard dash. Unless you wrap this guy up, he will spin out and he will keep moving. And in 3 years between Georgia Tech and then Alabama, he caught 103 passes for 1,215 yards and 8 touchdowns. So what does Josh Allen love doing? Throwing the ball. What you've got is basically another receiver, but better than Josh Downs. I'm giving you Jahmyr Gibbs, who will sell tickets and he will catch the ball. It's basically another receiver. He's so quick and he's tough.
Jahmyr Gibbs is not a better receiver than Josh Downs. He just isn't. He's not. That's just not true.
I'll put him up against him, and I don't have to worry about losing a wide receiver position.
You cannot, in any way, honestly say with any level of sanity that the Bills will draft a running back in round 1.
They picked James Cook in round 2 a year or two ago.
Yes, which is not round 1.
I've given them a receiver. I've given them what I think is the most dynamic.
And they've still got James Cook. They've still got James Cook.
Yeah,
they've just gone and signed Damian Harrison, and they've still got Naeem Hines.
Yeah, but he's a running back.
They're all right.
I'm liking the fact that he's a bit more of a hybrid. That
Yeah, he's much more of a receiver.
Josh loves to throw the ball rather than just palm it off straight.
Yeah, which is why you should give him a wide receiver. The argument say,
he's got wide receivers. So I'm going to give him another option.
Not down with
dynamic.
That. It's not
the offense.
We cannot be serious in genuinely saying
it gives much more of a first round player than Josh Downs.
Not for the Bills.
Yeah, for the Bills.
No,
they don't like running backs. They like receivers. I've given them a receiver out of the backfield.
This is interesting because Finn's siding with Jim and I'm leaning towards Dave.
So you two fight it out.
Go on, sell me on why I need a hybrid running back rather than a straight slot receiver.
Jahmyr Gibbs is a good running back. There's no doubt about that. He's a really good receiver as well, but he's not. He could line up in the slot if that's what you want to do.
At the minute.
So they're running back depth is James
Harris.
Cook, Damian Harris, Naeem Hines.
Yeah, it needs work, doesn't it?
That's what I mean.
I have got other receivers.
Yes, they misuse the running back position so often. You might as well give them the most dynamic running back that's left in the draft that is basically a wide receiver. He's so used to doing it for Bama. So and he's a round 1 player.
Josh, I also do like the prospect of Josh Downs, but I think if you're getting someone that we can throw to, and then he's also going to carry on running.
Playing cold weather. You're running back, Jim.
Yeah. No, he plays in Alabama.
Plays in Alabama, but all right. Josh Downs plays in North Carolina. That's not exactly.
I'm asking. I'm trying to find little.
I'm just saying he plays in Alabama. It's not exactly. He's never seen snow.
Of course he has. Don't be silly.
Okay.
I don't think that should factor into.
You're the coach. Which one do you think you can win us a Super Bowl with?
I think. Can I just say, for the record, I know you're going to pick Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's fine. I think it's ridiculous to pick him.
You could pick Jalen Hyatt over Josh Downs if you're going for like a.
I think it's
receiver.
It's not even. I'm not even the player. the fact that they devalue that position so much. I mean, there's been games where they've ran it out of courtesy. They don't run the ball, and to think that they value running the ball as a first round.
Did I say running the ball? Did I say running the ball? I said catching the ball.
Yes.
He's another receiver.
He's not another receiver, Jim. He's just not. He's not. He's at 103 passes in 4 years. Three years.
With the 27th pick in the final down draft, the Buffalo Bills will select whichever one Finn wants.
Gibbs.
It's ridiculous. That is genuinely.
Josh Downs isn't the
that is a
player.
joke. That is a joke. Well, this is the thing. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to decide it, right? Jahmyr Gibbs will still be on the board when the Bills are picking. He absolutely will still be on the board. And what you're saying, Jim, is that they will pick him.
At
and
59?
they will no, at 27.
All right, okay, yeah.
He will still be there when they're picking at 27, and they will not pick him. That's a fact. If they do, I will come on here and I will offer you the most sincere apology ever. But they will not do it because it's a ridiculous pick. Simple as that. And I'm not saying that because of Jahmyr Gibbs. I love him. I think he's great. I think he really is great. There's no way the Bills are picking him at 27. No way on earth. They do not pick him that high.
I will love it if he beats them. I will love it.
Yes, but he won't. He won't.
Okay, so we've got 4 picks left then, and we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals at 28. So, guys, what are we giving the Bengals? Apart from the clap.
Well, Finn, all yours. What do we need?
I think we've only got the three positions that need we discussed. I think tight end would be could shore up in the tight end. Tackle offensive side, I think would be useful as well. And then safety. I know a few safeties have floated about. Not sure who's left on the board in that department, but I'd say those.
You throw safety out the window. Forget about safety.
Yeah, we can't, unfortunately.
I'm quite happy to go first. My comp for my player is Abe Lucas, who was drafted by Seattle last year, who I was a massive fan of as well, and proved to be a very good player. Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma. He is basically a very fast 6'5" tackle who has never played inside, but I reckon could transition quite easy. And it's a similar thing to what I said to Chicago. I mean, if there's anything more certain that the Bengals are going to play in black, it's that their offensive line is going to be rubbish. And it's been that way for so long. So if you've got a guy who can come in and basically slot into a position where there will be a hole, and listen, this is the NFL, injuries happen. There always will be a hole within it. Anton Harrison's that guy you can bring in and just allow him to play on the offense. And I talked earlier on about the networks that I've got and there being sort of differentials between where people are drafted. This is the guy and then some. So some people have him going as low as 44, other people 19. So, but the majority of the picks are mid-first. He is a first-round tackle. Someone will fall in love, and he will go. He will go in the first round, absolutely. And yeah, Cincinnati always need a tackle.
They do.
Yeah, especially if Jonah Williams isn't going to want to play right tackle.
Yes, that's an amazing point. That's a really, really good point because Jonah Williams is he's a good tackle. It's better than your Buffalo running back point. He's a very good tackle, but there's no way Jonah Williams is going to end up going left tackle when you got Orlando Brown there. So I think there's a. I've said everything I need to. It's just repetition at this point.
Yeah, I mean, only 9 pressures on 447 pass blocking snaps for Anton Harrison. He is the best tackle remaining in the class. I know there's a guy called Michael Meyer who is a really good tight end. I've heard. It's who I don't think at all is like Jason Witten. Who did you comp him as, Dave?
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, Mark Andrews. Yeah.
I was high on Mark Andrews before anyone even knew Mark Andrews was a thing.
Yeah. Now, the player that I wouldn't want them to take because he's such an X factor is Darnell Washington. He is a tight end out of Georgia, and he's 6'7", 265 pounds. He looks like a man playing pee-wee football. He is the best blocker in the class. So if you want a tackle or someone else to help on the line, there's your guy. And if you want someone who's then going to take a few steps, find a hole, collect the ball, and then charge his way up the field, you've also got that guy. So I'm giving you a tight end and a lineman all in one. He's still raw. Obviously, at Georgia, it was a bit weird. But
because they didn't have a quarterback.
They didn't have a quarterback. But Darnell Washington, he's one of those. I kind of fall in love with him a little bit. You know, he's that really freak guy that could be the next massive tight end in the league, because if he can harness everything, he's already got the height and the power. If he can harness that technique, then he could be unstoppable. So I don't want him to go to the Bengals, which is why I'm picking him.
I don't think Darnell Washington will transition to the NFL as an offensive weapon. I think he'll transition as a defensive weapon. I think he'd be a brilliant fullback, in all honesty, because he's got that.
But he does that as well. He
does, but he's almost like a nickel fullback where he falls into it and plays as that extra man. I don't think he can play as dynamic in the offense in the NFL as he does in college.
Like I said,
don't think he can.
He's the best blocker. He's not the best receiver at the moment, but he could be.
If you're going tight end, I think you have to go for Mike Meyer at this point. If you're going tackle, you have to go for Anton Harrison at this moment. I think that's the way it is.
If you want both, you go for Darnell Washington.
Finn?
Not true.
To me, tackle is more of an area of concern, and I think if Harris is if he's the best tackle left on the board, I don't have any objections to bringing him in.
I
at
do.
This point. You do.
Oh, I have objections.
Oh,
I think we need a tight end more than we need a tackle. We spent a whole shed ton of money in free agency last year trying to sort out the offensive line. I think another weapon for Burrow and co to play with, I think, might just be what tips this team over the edge. I would go with Mike Mayer.
I think you can't go with Washington if you're wanting a dynamic tight end. So you have to go for Mike Mayer.
Please take him.
To be overruled.
Take Mike Mayer. I'm very scared of Mike Mayer.
So sorry, coach. Sorry, coach.
No.
You've got enough offensive linemen. Sort them out.
I'm happy to be overruled on this one.
Looking actually,
getting a tight end.
I had forgotten this, but in terms of tackle, they also picked up Lyle Collins as well. So.
Yeah, that was last season, and he wasn't.
But he's still there.
Yeah, but he wasn't fit. He's listed as a tackle here, so mind you, in that system, everyone's a guard, so it makes no difference.
The pick is already in. The pick is
Mike Mayers. I think it's a good pick.
We've got three to go. And the first one up is the New Orleans Saints, picking at 29. What do the Saints
29 Saints, yes. Okay, so again, they could do with a tight end. They could do with a wide receiver. They could do with a safety. They could do maybe a defensive tackle. So we're kind of in the realms now of all those players that you've kind of already pitched. Right. So it's kind of pick your poison as to who you guys think would fit with the Saints.
Well, they play a 4-3, so allow me to pitch Kalijah Cansey once more from Pittsburgh, the speedy defensive tackle. I think, and again, it's one of the few systems where you can use him alongside Cameron Jordan and Carlin Saunders and Nathan Shepard to get up the middle and cause some problems.
I don't hate that.
I think it's quite low for Cansey, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Dave?
I don't know, in all honesty. I don't like their cornerback room, but I don't think there's a cornerback that gives you massive amounts of value here other than Cam Smith, who I've already floated out there. So I'll probably go for Cam Smith, but I kind of agree with Jim. Because they play a 4-3, their defensive line is really important. And it's trash. They just don't have enough quality on the inside. So although I'm not a fan of the cornerback room, it's the bigger need. Offense, I think, is absolutely fine. Depending on whether or not Alvin Kamara stays this side of the prison wall.
If he's wearing orange,
yeah,
it's not going to be much help at all. But...
Not really. So no, I think I'd be perfectly happy with I'm going with Kalijah Chansey here.
There we go. Another consensus
Sorry.
pick.
There we
This
are.
is
Sorry.
unprecedented.
Elijah Cansey.
There's been a lot
I
of
just
Elijah
think the-
Clancy going to the New Orleans Saints.
He's just one of those teams that can take
the
him.
way
Not every
the
team
way
can
the
take
cards have
Cansey.
felt. Yeah, the way the cards have fell, and I'd prefer Clancy playing in a 4-3. I wouldn't trust him in a 3-4.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Size is a thing in 3-4, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
right, onwards and upwards. Number
the
30,
Eagles.
the Philadelphia Eagles.
We gave them B. John
Take
Robinson.
first time.
We gave them B. John
Robinson, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
10.
So we're still looking then cornerback, safety. We kind of ruled them out. Edge rush. I mean, it's almost best player on the board for the Eagles, to be honest.
I think they're in the luxury of there's enough pieces there that they can now just take.
Can I
best of the
pitch
rest.
Anton Harrison again? So he's the tackle that I mentioned for the Bengals. The main reason being is Lane Johnson's like old. I mean like old.
Yeah.
And Jordan Mailata has been injured the past couple of seasons as well. So just as that line cover almost.
Yeah.
I'd kind of go with Anton Harrison. I was looking at Lane Johnson. I was trying to find Lane Johnson's age. It feels like he's been around for like forever. And again, it's protect your investment. Protect your £250 million investment.
And then just give him a contract extension.
Lane Johnson.
He got
Yeah.
1 year one.
Yeah, absolutely. But he'd got like a 1 or 2 year.
Yeah.
And
I've got no problem with freshening up the line and making it a bit younger.
Yeah.
I mean, just one more player to help out Jalen Hurts. You know, obviously, Bijan Robinson and now another tackle to take pressure off. I can't really put anyone there that's going to be like screaming to be above Anton Harrison at this point.
This is going to turn into a boring consensus. So let's play a game very quickly. Let's play a sexy pick.
Yeah.
What have you
I
got?
don't have one.
Apart
from Darnell
Josh
Washington,
Downs, isn't it?
Apart from Darnell
It's
Washington,
what?
because he is that X Factor player.
I like Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee.
Do you?
Yes, because
Why are you mentioning him over
rapid.
him and Josh Downs? He's bloody quick.
Yeah, because Josh Downs is a play in the middle slot receiver, whereas you can play high anywhere. He is properly rapid, and he's a decent size on him as well. He's a really nice, sexy pick that it wouldn't shock me for someone going in. He's a second round receiver without a doubt. It wouldn't shock me if someone nips him in the first, which sounds dirty, but it's not. But
So is he the type of player that you think maybe possibly the Rams will jump up for?
Maybe. I mean, that's
I was
not a
going to
bad
say
shout.
we need to look
Late
at the
in
teams
the
that
first.
aren't. Are they going to move up into the first round? Because there are a couple of teams that might want to.
I think the Rams would want to. I think the 49ers would look to, but that'll depend on conversations that happen around the quarterback and so on and so forth. The Browns definitely can't.
Okay.
Who else is there?
Dolphins can't.
Forfeited their pick in the first round, didn't they? So
they've only got 4 picks in this draft.
Yeah,
second,
probably,
third, sixth, and seventh.
Probably going to struggle to unless they get rid of somebody in a trade or something. The only other team without a pick is the Broncos.
Yeah. In terms of the 49ers moving up, a guy I can see him moving up for is Trenton Simpson, who's a linebacker. The reason for that is because he is a linebacking football player, not to be I'm throwing out sort of what do you call it? It's just
analogies.
terms now.
Nonsense?
Yeah, just analogies. It is nonsense, but the fact is he plays ball winning linebacker, and
This
even
is
when
draft at some point.
he played at slot corner as well. I mean, he plays for Clemson, so I'm obviously not a fan of his. But my comp for him pass rushing is Randy Gregory. In terms of coverage, I think he's Carl Van Noy. He's got that kind of range and ability. So, and he's just a 49ers player. You know, where you get 49ers players who can do everything.
Yeah.
That's what he is. But I think the big problem depends how much they love him, because I think they can sit and wait for him. I don't think they need to go and get him. That's the issue.
Fortnite's have got to move up at some point because they're not picking to the third round. So if they want Trent and Simpson, they've got to move up at some point.
I think they'll probably move into the second to go and get him.
Let's face it. If you're moving into the bottom of the first, it's for one position, and that's a quarterback to give a fifth-year option, right? And there's still a quarterback in Hendon Hooker that we haven't really mentioned that could well be taken at the bottom of the first. Either by the Vikings just sitting there at 31 thinking, oh, we might get Hendon Hooker here to sit behind Kirk Cousins for a year or two. Not that you really need to, but
yeah, maybe.
But
you might even have the Rams twitching with Matt Stafford's arm.
Yeah, you should do. Or you got the Bucks. Maybe you want to move back up into the first to get someone else in there. There's a few teams that might want to move back up into the first to get Hendon Hooker. I don't know. I'll take a quick straw poll with you guys because we want to finish this mock. But Hendon Hooker is that guy at the bottom of the first that someone might take a flyer on, and having the fifth-year option makes it worth it.
Kind of makes sense. So I think for the Eagles, just to finish off properly, I think the Eagles were right in saying Anton Harrison.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense there. It's, the line is getting younger. You're helping your $250 million quarterback stay healthy.
Yeah.
31 at the moment is the Vikings. Yeah, I can see them taking that. Look, at some point they've got to see what we see in Kirk Cousins and go, he is Mr. Average that just is not going to win you the big game. So we've got to look at moving off from him. If they like Hendon Hooker, then I see no reason why they shouldn't draft him. But equally, I can see the Rams or someone jumping up and doing something as well. So
I think it was. Carry on.
I would say that either when it comes to the Vikings, they're just sort of sitting there, go, oh well, we may as well at this point just get him to sit behind Cousins, learn under Cousins, and when the penny drops that Cousins isn't all that, then they've got someone else. But I can also see the Rams and the Stafford situation then going, oh, actually we could get into the first round at this point and just bring in some fresh blood in the QB space.
I mean, if they really like Hendon Hooker, then they might be able to jump up somewhere around the Bills Cowboys 26-27 and do something there for him.
But in our mock, they fall into the last spot in the draft in the first round, and they don't pick again until the third. So either the Vikings are taking him, or they're moving out and someone else comes up to take him.
Yeah,
but I think Hendon Hooker goes at this point.
There was a stat that I saw, and I may butcher it because I'm 12 years removed from the stat that I saw, but it was like with the last pick in the first round, 70% of the time it's either a traded pick for someone going, oh, I really like him, come and get in, like the Sony Michel pick with the Patriots, or you pick a quarterback, or both.
Yeah,
and
get that extra. Yeah,
I think there's a good chance. I think Jim's right. I'll go with Hendon Hooker. My comp for him is Marcus Mariota. I think his arm is very, very good. He shows promise, but there's obvious drawbacks. I think in terms of runner, he's a brilliant runner. Like really, really good runner. He suits a dome team. He'd be terrible playing in Green Bay, for example. That would not be the spot for him. But I think he's a very good player, and he's one of those guys who will either succeed or be a good NFL. Will either fail or be a good NFL player. I think he's a good punt to take, and you're not losing out on too much if he doesn't work out, because you're basically picking him with what is almost a second rounder.
We're doing that then. We're picking him for the Vikings.
I think we are.
I think that's and
it's not the first. It's not the first time we say about them loving Kirk Cousins, but it's not the first time they've picked up a quarterback in the draft. They did it a couple of years ago. They picked up I forget what his name is now.
Well, they had Teddy Bridgewater that they picked up, and then he got.
Oh, it's sooner than that. It was 2 years ago. Well, the other thing with Hendon Hooker as well, he tore his ACL last season, so he's not going to be able to play immediately. So he fits perfectly that team, who is going to be able to sit there. But I think they picked up Nick Mullins in free agency, so I think they're possibly looking for someone else to come in as well. But no, good pick, good choice.
There we go. Hendon Hooker to the Vikings. Final pick.
Let's just show then that full round. So 1 second.
And just for the record, I had more picks than Jim. Just saying. You say it's not a
How many
competition.
did you
but
get?
it is.
Did
It's
you?
always a competition.
I got 7. Jim got I got 8. Jim got 7. There was 16 consensus picks.
That's a lot for
Wow.
us.
That is an awful lot. I feel like
for us.
Finn's sort of mellowing us out.
So here we go. So we
more
did.
rounded
apologise,
human
chaps, yeah.
beings.
What
This
have
is
you
going to be
done?
fun. We did Bryce Young to the Panthers, CJ Stroud to the Texans, Anthony Richardson with the trade up to the Raiders, Will Levis to the Colts in a 4 QB start to the draft. Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson came off the board after that to the Seahawks and the Lions. Jalen Carter, well, he fell to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals just got him there. Paris Johnson was the first tackle off the board at 8 to the Falcons. Peter Skoronski, again, another tackle / guard, then going to the Bears. Bijan Robinson, first running back off the board at 10 because the Eagles can do whatever they want. Then we did have a trade between the Texans and Titans, which we just get through, but Jackson Smith and Jigba went at 11. Broderick Jones went at 12. Then Joey Porter Jr. was the first cornerback, which is a bit different. He went to the Jets. Then there was obviously a run. Devin Witherspoon then went to the Patriots. We don't think that'll happen because the Patriots don't take round 1 talent in round 1. Christian Gonzalez then went a cornerback to the Packers. Deontay Banks, cornerback, Maryland, stays there and goes to the Commanders. Steelers pick up down at right tackle there from Tennessee. The first tight end was Dalton Kincaid, receiving tight end to the Lions with their second pick. Nolan Smith, the edge rusher, went to the Bucks. Zay Flowers was the second wide receiver off the board to the Seahawks. Miles Murphy edged over to the Chargers.
Boo.
The Giants moved up in the draft to take Quentin Johnston. And then the Chiefs moved up to take Jordan Addison from USC. Right. Branch was the only safety off the board in the first round to the Jags. Lucas Van Ness, well, the Ravens managed to move down for a couple of extra picks and get an edge rusher there. Mazzie Smith, the big boy from Michigan to the Cowboys. Jahmyr Gibbs, great choice there, running back from the Bills. Michael Meyer, tight end to the Bills. Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh, going to the Saints. Anton Harrison, more cover on the offensive line for the Eagles. And then at the bottom of the first round, Hendon Hooker goes to the Vikings, who moved down with the Chiefs earlier in the first round to pick up a potential replacement to Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. There we go.
The most interesting thing about that is how my spellings of names differ from the actual spellings of names.
Well, now that draft is finished, you guys can go and watch these players and see who you just picked
Yes,
on our
that's
recommendations.
the interesting bit that Finn and I get to do now is actually go and look at the players and go, who have we actually drafted
We
here?
either
You mean
go,
you-
wow, what a great show, or
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
we really dropped the ball there.
I'm guessing Jahmyr Gibbs will be watched pretty soon after this as well. But
I would have
he's
thought
he's
he might
mustard.
be on the
Don't
list.
worry about it. Don't worry about it.
He's good, and it
He's
doesn't
very
surprise
good.
me if he goes in the first round. He just ain't going to Buffalo. It's just not a thing.
It's a
Sorry,
great
man.
fit for him. It's a great
It's
fit for
not.
him.
No,
Anyway,
sorry, not going to happen.
We're getting them started again.
you can go and rest.
I feel like I'm getting all
Probably take a
riled
walk.
up.
Jesus Christ, Dave.
Come on, Dave, let's get out of here. It's been 4 hours already.
Send us your comments on what you thought of the draft, what you thought of we did to your team, whether we were nice or nasty.
Send us your comments on the Bills as well, whether you think I'm right or Jim's wrong.
See what Dave's worried
So-
about now.
You can hit us up on Twitter at Jim at final, not me, at final down NFL, at punk_raider, at Denver Dave 30. And we are going to do Finn's new Twitter name. I'm sorry, I was going to do it last week and then I had to
I've said
redecorate my
what it
living
should
room.
be. I've
So we're
said
gonna
what it
put
should
out
be.
Finn's
Poll will
Twitter
be out.
poll, if Twitter's still a thing, in the next couple of weeks. But we're looking forward to obviously the draft now. So until next week when we talk about round 1 review, I've been Jim, that's been Finn, that's been Punk Raider, that's been Denver Dave, and thank you very much for watching.